Two bodies lie on the floor in a gruesome scene. Lin, an aristocratic vampire, is disappointed by how weak her so-called dependents are. She has them dragged away and thrown into the kitchen as ingredients. A dependent reminds her that personal consumption is illegal and should go through proper channels. She is unfazed and casually agrees. She recounts the race's rule to ensure that humans grow up happy and carefree, which is to turn the strong ones into loyal dependents and make the weak humans into ingredients. Their race has ruled the earth for so long that their main delicacy is no longer a necessity. However, she admits that it is far superior than other options. She plans out her next destination, which is the Emerald City. Meanwhile, the sun rises brightly while one house keeps a lively energy. Jay, a student, sleeps soundly while his dad wakes him up. His dad shakes him to wake up and tells him not to slack off. Jay rouses while his dad leaves his room and tells him to get moving. Jay opens his eyes with confusion until his face shifts into a shocked reaction. Jay recalls his 25th birthday, fired from his job, burdened by a mortgage, with his father in the hospital and only limited funds left. He drank his misery away by the river to contemplate his life until he saw a woman getting into the river. Jay rushed to save her. However, he couldn't hold on after saving her and fell into the river's abyss. Jay notes that he can't remember anything after that as he sits on his bed. He looks at the calendar and it's 2007. Shocked to be back at 18, he bursts through the door, rushing down the stairs. He calls out to his dad, which startles everyone at the barbershop. Jay hugs him passionately. His dad asks him what is wrong, to which he responds that he just had a nightmare while crying. His dad hugs him back while their customer complains about his hair. He suddenly kicks Jay out and returns to his job. The customer threatens him if he delays his job any further. Jay attempts to fight back for disrespecting his dad, but he tries to stop his son. The customer turns out to be a candidate to be a dependent for Lin, who is of noble descent. Something suddenly hits Jay after learning the information about highborns, confirming what he knows. Upon seeing the news about highly respected vampires, Jay can't help but feel shocked. He searches more about them online, surprised that they are regarded as the leaders of the society. His shock intensifies after learning that humanity is ruled by vampires and no one is fighting back. Jay keeps searching online and wonders if it was war or invasion. After the search results load, a warning message appears on his screen, which says 404 food. The intimidating figure dominates the screen until Jay turns off his device. He lets out a sigh of relief, admitting that it scared the life out of him. His confusion remains about the world he woke up to. Jay believes the world he was reborn into is different from the one he once knew, yet he feels he is still the same person. Suddenly, he notices that he has teeth marks on his neck. He wonders if it is true that he was really bitten by a vampire. He brushes his eyes, believing that it was a mistake. He convinces himself that his vision is just getting blurry. Little does he know that his reflection in the mirror displays an ominous version of himself. Morning light shines over their neighborhood. Jay is about to go to school while his supportive dad sees him off. He is excited about his son getting admitted to a prestigious school. Jay waves goodbye while reminding his dad to visit the hospital for a checkup. He is determined to avoid what happened in his past life in the new world he is in. Jay is optimistic to live a better life this time around until someone stops his fantasy. A group of cloaked individuals tell him to get out of their way. The goth-looking group tells Jay that he doesn't belong to this kind of place. Jay pauses and is unsure of how to respond. He trembles in fear and thinks that he is surrounded by aliens. Jay feels small around them, while they tell Jay to leave since the place is a noble establishment for students with generic rank or higher. Jay pauses after hearing something familiar. He learns that he is C rank after looking at his ID and wonders how they are being evaluated. One of the students pushes him away, baffling him until someone calls his name. Wayne, his friend, approaches to check on him. Jay is astonished to see a familiar face. He recognizes him from his past life as a top student while he was a delinquent. Jay recounts his lifestyle as a rule breaker and thought he was unstoppable. However, he met his karma after graduating college. He sent out a message to the people who thought were his friends to borrow money. However, Jay realized that he had nobody to rely on after being abandoned. However, Wayne was the only one who sent money and encouragement to him, leaving Jay baffled. He admits that he completely forgot about Wayne at the time while he looks at his familiar face at the present. Jay grabs Wayne and acts familiar to save himself from the crowd. Jay learns that the campus is holding a party and asks who it is for. Wayne explains that it is for Lord Lin, who arrives at their town in search of a family. Jay recognizes her name from their customer who is taking a Soul Rain interview to be a member of her family. Jay asks what are the benefits of becoming her family member. Wayne explains that a normal human can change their status increase their life expectancy, and have superb combat power from their master. The others overhear them discussing, highlighting their excitement about the ritual process as if they are fangirls. The guys describe the process as very intimate and something they look forward to. For humans, receiving grace from the noble vampire is the moment to enjoy the highest pleasure in the world. The guys gush over the fact that Lin is so beautiful and no one will resist being part of her family. Jay finds their reaction weird since they are talking about a vampire. Suddenly, a parade of cars arrive at the campus, dropping off an elegant woman with red high heels. Lin has finally graced the campus with her presence, which everyone awaits. High-ranking officials such as the mayor and principal will accompany Lin as she arrives at the campus. Jay is rendered speechless while the students behind him are excited. He grabs Wayne, telling him to ignore her, and notes that getting stronger is what he should focus on. Jay learns from the past that he should rely on himself only and not on other people. Jay lets people go for the vampire while Wayne tries to talk to him. Suddenly, a bright light flashes behind them. Wang looks alarmed until civilians violently blast into the wall from the explosion. Jay immediately looks into Wayne, grabbing his cloth and protecting him from the explosion. Jay's eyes turn scarlet, but the impact takes a toll on him. A mysterious assassin triggers the explosion, shrouded in dark smoke. Jay looks alarmed while the assassin stands silently. Lin used her magic just in time. The mayor is relieved and thankful for Lin's quick action. The assassin's sudden display of power stirs confusion over his true intentions. The assassin flees while the guards yell for his capture. Lin displays her disappointment at the city's army, but the mayor tries to flatter her instead. Something suddenly catches Lin's interest, locking her eyes on Jay, who managed to protect his companion. Suddenly, a desperate student begs Lin to take him in while bragging about his genetic level. The other students eagerly shout their desire to be her dependents. She looks at them and asks if they know why genetic classes exist. T-Hei respond that it is a requirement in order to adapt to the vampire genes. The punk-looking student adds that levels are divided into 5 levels and he presents himself as the better choice since he holds in a rank. Lin is impressed by his knowledge, but he missed one thing. Lin explains that class doesn't matter as long as she gives her grace to whomever she likes. Lin highlights that it is the reason why vampires are considered noble, which astonishes the student. Lin is surrounded by a raging energy while displaying her displeasure. She smiles menacingly, asking the student why she would need a loser like him. The student is rendered speechless, depressed, and ready to end it all as he takes out a knife. Someone suddenly knocks the sharp object away from his hand. Jay stops the student and tells him that it is not the end just because the vampire rejects him. He can't believe his eyes after the others suddenly feel down after Lin's rejection. The student suddenly lunges at Jay for his interference. He simply dodges him while the student cries like a baby on the ground. Lin looks at Jay from a distance until she approaches him intimately. Lin touches his wounded lip, rendering him speechless. Her interest in him is evident and invites him to visit her place, which shocks him. Lin tells everyone that she is letting everyone retake the test at her house tonight. She displays her alluring aura while telling everyone that whoever makes it gets to stay overnight. Jay and Wayne are shocked after hearing the vampire's invitation. The mayor panics after Lin leaves without him. The crowd becomes lively again after learning that there is a retest. Jay finds the situation weird and accuses Lin of taking advantage of the students. Wayne is afraid and doesn't want to go, but Principal Wen, who happens to be his dad, insists that he has to. Wayne panics while trying to chase after his dad. Wen asks for the injured to get treated while calling the others to come with him. Wen asks the other students to sign a form at the conference room. Jay looks at the paper and displays his shock after learning that they can't disclose the content of the test. The document happens to be a waiver stating that the campus and Lin are not accountable for the students' lives. Jay trembles in fear after seeing the waiver. He asks Wen if he can back out, but it is too late for him to abstain. Wen explains that Lin is already expecting Jay, and him not being present means that he is disobeying orders. Wen reminds Jay that he is just an ordinary citizen, and there will be consequences if he doesn't follow the rules. The other students get angry at Jay while he is shocked upon hearing the consequences. The student tells Jay that 3 generations of his family will suffer and become underground factory workers. Jay sweats profusely after hearing the grave consequences. The arrogant student proudly signs the letter and asks him for a head-to-head competition, wherein their lives are at stake if either of them loses. The student leaves the conference room with a menacing laugh, rendering the room silent. Wayne asks his dad if he should sign while he responds with a question to his son if he wants to become Lin's dependent. Wayne displays his hesitation, but it is already too late. Jay asks Wen why many people want to take the retest despite the danger. Wen turns serious as he starts to explain. He notes that being a vampire's dependent is a symbol of glory and nothing can match the status. Noble vampires have the most power and influence, making the dependents their spokesperson. Jay is shocked and thinks their power is similar to that of a king. He explains that true power is controlled by the 7 royal courts, and within the imperial court, strength depends on the purity of one's lineage. Wen reveals that Lin is a member of the imperial court and the daughter of Baron Kai, who is the actual power holder of their province. Jay clenches his fist, shocked at how the world changed when all he wants to do is live a simple and healthy life with his dad. Jay thinks that he can simply admit defeat and go home, but the principal advises against it. He reveals that Lin wants to see a show, leaving Jay and Wayne confused. Lin wants to get what she wants, and refusing her demands will lead to a disaster. Jay understands that they must try to perform before giving up so they can survive. Wayne asks his dad what the content of the test will be, but Wen is unsure either. The principal noticed Jay's fighting ability earlier and hopes that he can bring his son back safely. Wen offers all his family savings to Jay in return. Jay looks flustered and admits that he can't even protect himself. He challenges Wen instead and asks if he doesn't want his son to be a dependent, but the principal throws the question back at him. Wen reveals that Wen's identity will completely vanish once they become part of the noble vampire's family. All their personalities, feelings, and memories will all be gone and never return. There will only be one thing in their minds, and that is to obey and live for their master. Their former companions and family will be abandoned or even killed. Jay finds this inhumane, screaming his refusal to become Lin's dependent. He proudly chooses to be a human being who will inherit his dad's barbershop. At Lin's mansion, Butler welcomes everyone who came for the retest. There are 58 contestants, but only 20 people can enter Lin's room to participate in the later levels. Butler wishes that the participants can give a great performance for Lin. Jay and Wayne stand side by side in a room full of people. Wen explained before that there were normally 3 levels for the audition. Jay is determined to pass the first level or they will be treated like garbage. Only 20 people out of 58 can advance, which makes the pass rate less than half. The participants display their excitement and ask Butler to start the retest. The crowd can't contain their enthusiasm as they can't wait to meet Lin. Butler reveals that the test has already started the moment they entered the mansion, calling out those who made noise without permission and disqualifying them. The participants display their shock, while Butler explains that a dependent should display an obedient and proper behavior. The participants are in disbelief, while the guard reports that there are 32 people who made noise and whispered upon entering the mansion. Butler rethinks his decision as he finds it too much, which will satisfy Lin. He suddenly tells them that 5 out of the 32 people can participate in the resurrection battle and the winners will be saved. The crowd cheers after getting another shot at staying. Butler smiles confidently while he prepares to explain the resurrection battle. All they need to do is stay inside the circle until 5 of them remain. Jay and Wayne stay alert while the former thinks that it is the same as killing each other. Jay is relieved that he and Wayne did not make a noise unlike the others. A sharp object suddenly pierces through the flesh, rendering Jay and Wayne speechless. Ada, one of the participants, explains that only 5 can advance and winners fear they'll be too exhaustive for the next rounds. That is why violence is the easiest way to eliminate his competition. He warns the others not to get closer and ensures his spot amongst the 5 winners. Adam ominously threatens everyone while holding his knife. Jay and Wayne tremble in fear after seeing the violent participant. Another contestant accepts his challenge while showing a massive firearm, showing that others have carried their own weapon as well. Jay freezes in terror after seeing how violent the retest is getting, realizing that one should stomach such a scene if they want to be a vampire's dependent. The violent party has finally started as the participants go wild with their weapons. 5 people immediately win the resurrection battle, and no one survives until Faye, their leader, notices something. She shoots the participant for good measure, making sure that there is really no more. Butler is pleased and tells them that Lin is happy with their performance. Jay is rendered speechless, thinking that he is surrounded by total lunatics. The participant notices his gaze and asks what he wants. He points out Jay's clean look and promises to teach him about what a sinister society is. He displays his ominous aura and warns Jay not to cry later. Wayne panics and thinks that his life is over already. A reassuring voice tells him not to be afraid. Jay tells him that they can admit defeat in the next round after passing the first level. Wayne is relieved and agrees to admit defeat soon. Butler suddenly announces that the first round of competition begins, shocking Jay and Wayne that the test has not even started yet, and the official round is going to be even more brutal. Only 20 people can advance this time who can enter Lin's room. A crack suddenly appears on the ground, revealing the content of the competition. Monstrous lava fish that are swimming in a sea of lava appear below. The participants tremble in fear after seeing the lava fish. Butler explains that the first level is a hunt for both sides. He presents a special rod that can carry 5 tons of weight, which is enough to pull up the lava fish below. He points to the bait, showing a container meant for making an offering. Only the best offerings attract the monsters, and those who fail will be eliminated. The participants will become the lava fish's food if they are unable to pull it up when it bites, prompting Jay and Wayne to freeze in terror. The participants prepare to catch the lava fish with their offering as bait, and they will be eliminated if they fail. The selection process has officially begun. While Jay and Wayne display their immense shock, he carries the heavy rod. Jay struggles to carry the rod while thinking how heavy the lava fish is. He notices another participant letting out a guttural scream. His body evolves into that of a beast as he shows his powerful form. Jay is surprised at his immense strength. Faye notes that another substance abuser has appeared, which causes Jay's confusion. She points out his bulging muscles, scarlet eyes, brain fog, which are all signs of her assumption that increases one's potential in a short period of time, but comes with a great risk. She also assumes that the guy spends a lot of money to maintain it while he gets his first catch. She notes that everything is worth it after all once they become a dependent. She leaves them to catch her own lava fish afterwards. Jay freezes in terror, looking at the participants struggling to make it to the first 20 passers. Jay displays his determination, putting his offering into the container. He waits for the fish to bite, thinking nobody wants his offering as it is taking a while. The bait sits in the lava, until a whirlpool appears. A lava fish finally sees Jay's bait under the lava. Jay has no idea what is about to happen next, until he notices something. The lava ripples violently and swirls, signaling Jay hooks a lava fish. He grips tightly, trying to hold his catch while Wayne grabs him. The two display their determination not to let go of their first catch. Jay clenches his teeth, pinning his feet on the ground. Multiple lava fish emerge from the lava, while they struggle to pull their catch. Upon pulling up a massive lava fish, his satisfied expression displays. Wayne smiles after catching one, but his happiness quickly fades. Multiple lava fish tails appear, making Jay panic in fear. Their sharp teeth flash as Jay nearly loses his grip. Realizing he's doomed, Jay swings the stick with all his strength. Wayne pushes his limit as he pulls harder. Jay forces himself to drum up more power. They struggle to pull up the lava fish above a pit of lava. Jay never loses his determination as he keeps on pulling. The stick begins to collapse under the intense pressure. He clenches his jaw in frustration while barely holding on. His footing slips, which sends him into a panic. The rope shakes violently as he loses balance. The monsters stir restlessly, which adds to the pressure. Jay struggles to maintain his grip. Wayne cries out that he can't hold on anymore, urging Jay to let go already. However, he doesn't intend to give up despite the strain in his muscles. Jay refuses as he knows that he might not catch them again next time. A sharp pain shoots through his leg from a muscle cramp. He suddenly realizes he's losing strength. Suddenly, his red eye bursts open with intense force. An overwhelming surge of power radiates from the red figure. His hands strain violently as he grips the stick, screaming in agony. The crowd is astonished by battle cry, while Jay remains desperate as he lets out a heart-wrenching scream. In her room, Lynn stands by her grand window. She is impressed by Lynn, whom she has had her eyes on. Lynn can't help but feel eager to take a bite out of him. The other participants are stunned, seeing Jay and Wayne surrounded by multiple lava fish. He breathes a sigh of relief after the intense tug of war. The participants look at their catch, praising Jay's strength. They grab the lava fish and admire how tough they are, but Jay tells them to back off. He gets up from the ground while the participants look at him with contempt. Jay repeats himself with a sharp gaze. One of the participants tells him there is no need to be arrogant. They suggest he share the fish since he has plenty, but Wayne thinks they are robbing Jay, who did all the work. Jay agrees with Wayne and notes that they are unsure about the rules. The participants' evil smiles display while asking Butler if they can take Jay's catch by force. Butler responds no, since Lynn is a peace seeker. However, he encourages Jay to value modesty and generosity, asking that he shares with everyone for the sake of humanity. He reminds Jay that he will become a target if he refuses. Jay smiles confidently, casually asking the participants if they really want a lava fish. Lin throws a fish at Wencheng first. He panics while Jay says that everyone should help each other. Others watch and smirk, while Jay grabs another fish and moves closer to the pit, throwing it back into the lava, which shocks everyone. Jay smirks and says he is helping them. The participants get angry at him. Jay outsmarts them and notes that giving the lava fish to them easily will only harm him in the long run. Someone complains that Jay is too arrogant, but he warns that even more arrogance is coming. He hoists a large fish high above his head. Jay declares he will give the fish to whoever kneels and calls him dad. He taunts them by saying he is almost out of fish. He orders them to kneel immediately or lose their chance to advance. The group hesitates and looks at each other nervously, until someone falls to his knees, calling him Dad desperately. Jay smirks and tells him to take the fish. The man threatens to deal with him later, but Jay responds that it does not matter. Jay mocks that they can now kill each other since they have lost their humanity. He smiles coldly and commands them to be a dog for him right now. Someone threatens Jay, but he simply tells him to shut up. Jay announces he has 3 fish left and asks who else is willing to kneel. The participants hesitate, but eventually kneel. The others curse him while sensing his high killing intent. Wayne is shocked at what he sees, nervously asking if Jay is going too far. He coldly replies and asks Wayne to look at their eyes. They only see the quota to become a dependent. Jay questions why he should treat them like human beings, calling them a bunch of trash. Jay grimaces and thinks they stink. Wenqing stares and thinks Jay looks so strange, wondering why Jay seems like a different person. Wayne recounts how passionate Jay was and can't believe how he pulled such a massive fish up. He also notices the change in his aura, turning cold inch by inch. Jay notes that the feeling of tearing and being twisted makes him lose control. His craving suddenly intensifies, describing the other participants as a useless bunch. Jay stands in front of the participants, moving closer to the fish with a cold smile. The crowd is rendered speechless, seeing Jay punch the fish with his fist. The crowd's shock intensifies. Jay mercilessly attacks the fish, his cold glare displays. He takes out the monster's flesh, baffling everyone. He then proceeds to devour it without hesitation. The crowd calls him crazy, but they prepare to take away the other fish while they have time. Butler smiles, realizing that the others have missed to notice something. He notes that the fish is a good source of energy which can help them last longer in the contest. He adds that the fish has a stimulating effect that can help them increase their physical strength. Jay encourages Wenqing to eat as it is delicious, shoving the flesh into his mouth. Jay displays his natural competitiveness until Adam catches Butler's attention, asking if he can handle the fist alone. The butler confirms, prompting the contestant to slice the fist. He then takes a bite, realizing the importance of the creature, which the butler finds interesting. The participants celebrate after 20 of them advance to the next round. Wayne is anxious and looks forward to giving up in the second round like they planned. He turns to Jay and thanks him that they can finally go back safely. However, Jay stares blankly. His sinister aura fills the room. Wayne looks at him silently, following his gaze, which leads to the other participants. Their ominous gaze displays while looking back at them. They grin menacingly as if they are challenging them. Jay takes off his sleeves, dropping it on the ground. He grins menacingly and gives them a finger. Wayne tries to calm him down, but Jay responds that they provoked him first. Wayne is worried that they are in a group, noting that most of the 20 people already knew each other. However, there are others who are lone wolves. Jay notes that there have been rumors going around online. He learns that those who became dependents before prioritized their own family's interests to become influential in society. Wayne responds that it doesn't have anything to do with them, but Jay points out their sinister gazes. He anticipates that they will attack in groups no matter what the second round is about. Jay challenges them to kill him first, which shocks Wayne. Chubby can't wait to get back at Jay for humiliating him earlier. He insults Jay that he is nothing but a low-born human. Chubby boasts that they came from the same family and hold a noble lineage. Jay grins menacingly as he learns why Chubby acts arrogantly. He describes them as inhumane while Wayne stands anxiously. Jay decides that those who don't qualify as humans shouldn't live. Chubby and his companions laugh at Jay and don't take him seriously. The other participant ignores him and focuses on others who deserve more attention instead. He notes that there are also other people who learned in advance that they can carry weapons. He warns his companions not to drop the chain while looking at Faye. Chubby reminds Adam not to forget about them once he becomes a dependent. They wonder what the second round of competition will be. Jay reminds Wayne to surrender immediately, while he decides to stay since the others will kill him whether he wins or not. His sinister gaze shows while noting that he plans to end the others who threatened him. Wayne is scared after seeing Jay's expression. He admits that Jay scares him more than the others. Wayne asks what is wrong with him, but Jay can't understand what is happening to his body either. He feels an intense hatred that is manipulating his whole being. Butler announces that only 3 will remain and can advance to the third and final round. The participants listen carefully. Lin waits at the top of a 99-floor building, where the first 3 to arrive will earn a chance to become his dependents. The Maison building has 99 floors, but elevators stop at the 89th. Stairs are needed for the last 9 where Lin is at the top. Only 4 elevators and 2 stairwells reach the 90th floor, but to reach Lin on the 99th, one must take a single guarded staircase. Jay is unbothered while others display their excitement, Butler asks the participants to choose any floor between 1 to 89 as a starting point. Chubby carefully thinks about his starting floor. Butler explains that starting on the first floor will be chaotic, while Lin prefers that they strategize and see more drama. Chubby points out that the 89th floor is the most obvious question, but everyone thinks the same thing. Starting late and cleaning up after others can be smarter, as early fighters end up exhausted or injured, but others think about it as well. Chubby suggests to Adam that they choose the 89th floor and simply fight others. Adam thinks carefully. Wayne asks Jay to just give up, but the latter refuses. Jay grins confidently, implying that the others will fight amongst themselves, which surprises Wayne. Jay sees through their facade, realizing their unity is fake and one man holds all their power. He notes that they are thinking about killing each other. Wayne is at a loss for words, asking Jay if he has chosen the floor already, which he has. Jay chooses a random floor, surprising Butler with his choice. Jay is confident with his decision, while Butler asks if he is not afraid of the chaos at the 89th floor. He suddenly asks what date it is and gets confirmation that it is the 17th. The butler tells the clocked guard to take the 17th floor, which will be Jay's starting point. He orders the 19 contestants to head to their chosen floors, while Wayne stays after temporarily surrendering. Butler finally announces the start of the next round. Glowing circles suddenly appear below the participants, emanating a magical light. Jay displays his surprise. They suddenly vanish into a portal, transporting them to their chosen floors. Jay notices that his fall suddenly stops, looking surprised after turning his head. He remains alert after reaching the initial floor. Jay thinks that he is temporarily safe, until a scary figure appears in the shadows. Jay suddenly notices his presence, which raises his alertness. The mysterious guy charges at him, hitting him without hesitation. Jay manages to dodge his strike, immediately escaping the danger. The man carrying a fire extinguisher looks very eager to get Jay, until the latter hits him with a surprise kick. The man falls down the stairs, while Jay looks at him dead in the eyes. He spots a fire extinguisher on the ground, swinging it at the man as his eyes flash scarlet. The man shouts for him to stop and surrenders in desperation. Jay lets out a sigh of relief. The man sits on the ground, baffled by Jay. He notes that his body was strengthened by training, but he felt as if his tendons were destroyed after Jay kicked him. Jay recognizes him from the small team from earlier and makes him explain himself. Jay moves on to the next floor after dealing with his attacker, earning an important intelligence. A 10-member team splits into 5 groups, with 3 stuck on the 89th floor while the rest guard the 20th, 40th, 60th, and 80th to block others from advancing. He arrives at the 20th floor, where it is also guarded according to his source, but he finds an empty space instead. Jay sees the group's strategy as pointless, knowing those guarding below stand no chance of reaching the top. Floors 79 to 89 are the most dangerous, drawing nearly everyone into one deadly zone. Jay walks carefully and slowly, while admitting that he chose random since he doesn't want to be dependent nor surrender. Jay acknowledges his rationality since he is an ordinary person after all, but his sensibility made him rush forward desperately and destroy those who crossed him. Jay clutches his aching head as red, vein-like strands appear on his hand. His expression shifts to surprise as he realizes his body is starting to change. His vision starts to look different, prompting his surprise to intensify. A man suddenly jumps out of nowhere to ambush him. He uses his hypnosis on Jay to manipulate him, ambushing everyone who reaches the 46th floor. He is determined to meet Lin as Jay falls victim to his trap. The man grabs Jay's shoulders, activating his hypnosis to turn him into his slave. Jay is shocked as the veins spread through his face. The man is baffled after Jay grabs his neck, believing that the man is responsible for what is happening with his body. He tries to deny Jay's accusation. However, Jay will not listen and orders him to remove all the red from his eyes and veins. The man desperately explains that his hypnosis only suppresses his movement. He convinces him to form an alliance instead, but Jay responds with a powerful punch instead. The man falls down to his knees, immediately losing consciousness. The veins continue to spread around his body. Jay suddenly approaches the unconscious man, attempting to bite him. Something suddenly strikes his mind, and he immediately pauses. Jay is shocked after realizing how he just acted, questioning what he is doing. He takes a look at the unconscious man, gazing at his neck. Jay drools uncontrollably, slapping himself to wake himself up. He immediately runs away, trying to get out of the building, wanting to return home to his dad. Jay suddenly trips, slamming his face on the ground. He pauses for a while in a dark fire exit. Jay clenches his hand and gets back on his feet. He looks above, displaying his sinister face while noting that he is hungry. Meanwhile, a report confirms that Lin's safety is secured. Butler adds that the last cult raid was just an accident and the target was the mayor. An intriguing event looms as the preparation is almost over. Meanwhile, the contestants end up fighting on the 89th floor despite trying to avoid it. Some rely on being calculated while others on luck and deception. They even betray their own teammates and preserve their ace as they fight back. There are some who have a clear goal and rely on their own strengths. Butler is pleased that Lin is enjoying the scene because of the participants. He suddenly looks for Jay, who is missing from his sight. Butler immediately checks out, finding out that he is about to reach the 89th floor, which is the center of the chaos. Jay arrives at a very violent scene where everyone is going wild at fighting each other. He stands quietly until the others notice his presence. They immediately attack him, but he simply dodges the strike. Jay walks past them nonchalantly until he sees the two strong contestants in a duel. They suddenly notice his arrival while Jay looks down without a word. He also walks past them, but Adam will not let me get away easily. The girl warns Jay that his knife is poisoned. Adam tells her that it is too late as he uses super speed flash. Adam is shocked, while Jay grabs his arm, rendering them speechless. Jay takes away Adam's knife, holding the sharp weapon and licking it coldly. The two participants are baffled, while Jay expresses his dissatisfaction. He noted that the good ones are on top with a sinister gaze. Jay displays his ominous smile as he can't wait to finally satisfy his craving. While Lin awaits in her room, Jay takes the stairs, leaving everyone speechless. Faye immediately comes after him, alarming Adam, who follows them. He suddenly pauses, leaving him stunned by his frenzied teammates who are charging at him. Adam is baffled and tells them to come after Jay and Faye. He grabs the wall in desperation while his teammates go wild. No one is left alive on the 89th floor except for Adam, who struggles to climb the stairs and manages to survive everyone's attack. His determination to be Lin's dependent displays despite the damage he sustained. On the top floor, Lin awaits for her 3 preselected options. She even expresses her satisfaction with the fight on the 89th floor. Her excitement displays as the 3 main dishes are about to be served to her, looking forward to satisfying her craving. The party finally begins. Music plays in the ballroom, where people dance and wear fancy dresses, and an orchestral band performs. The guests await for the massive door to open, revealing the 3 main dishes who survived the chaos on the 89th floor. They are welcomed to the ball, which is a large-scale immersive family selection scene. Adam is confused after not seeing Lin in the room. They tell him not to worry as Lin is in the middle of 100 beauties dressed up in the room. Adam is shocked, while Faye displays the same reaction, except for Jay, who remains to be quiet. They prepare to find Lin among the 100 masked guests in the room. They wonder if Lin is dressed in a gown, hiding behind curtains, or posing as a waiter to become playful. Once they have chosen, the real Lin will agree to dance with them and lead them to her room. However, they will get devoured if they make the wrong choice, so they remind the participants to make the right choice, leaving them baffled. The banquet starts and lasts for 30 minutes. Adam strategizes silently, while Faye mocks him that she knows what he is thinking. She thinks that he plans to kill her and Jay, so Adam will be declared as the winner automatically. She shows her remaining bullets, shocking Adam. Faye admits that she can't beat Jay, so she plans to use Adam as a shield against Jay. Adam gets pissed off while Faye tells him to follow the game's rules and she will give him a chance. She silently plans to kill Adam and everyone in the building, including Lin, before the game ends by using the power bomb in her body. The masked guests urge the 3 participants to find Lin. One guest grabs Adam and presents herself as the real Lin, mocking him with his anxiousness. The other masked guests surround Faye, but she keeps her guard up. She suddenly feels dizzy. Lin is on top of the loft and finds the event exciting while her followers ask her if this is really okay. Lin responds confidently that they can do whatever they want and food is tastier if shared with friends. The banquet hall is filled with their clan's charm, which disorients humans. Lin smiles while noting how interesting Jay is. He stands confidently while Lin feels like he will give him an unexpected surprise. Jay suddenly gives a sinister gaze, startling Lin. He jumps from the ground up to the loft, grabbing Lin by the arm. He grins menacingly after catching her. Lin responds confidently and asks if he is not afraid to catch the wrong person. Jay is certain and tells her that he can't wait to eat her. She gets elated and tells him to skip dancing since she is hungry as well. She takes him to her room and wonders how he will eat her. The scene intensifies in the banquet hall after Lin's identity is revealed. Adam can't believe that he is losing as he struggles on the ground. Faye notices that Lin is already leaving, worried that the bomb hasn't detonated yet until someone grabs her waist. Faye is shocked that the bomb did not detonate, while the masked guest notes that they ensured safety in the event. More girls surround her while noting that there is no room for resistance in the banquet hall. Faye's rifle drops, while she freezes in terror as they take an interest in her. Meanwhile, in Lin's room, she crawls on top of Jay as the two start the ritual. Lin reveals that Jay is the first of his kind. She notes that he will surrender his body to her after the ritual. She bites him as she promises to give him all the glory. She is stunned to feel a strong impact after biting him. She admits that his taste is superb, that she is about to fall in love with him. While she notes that it is still early to end the ritual, Faye shares that she wants more of him, letting him enjoy the peaceful process of benevolence. She asks about his promise earlier to bite her. Jay touches her chin, agreeing with her request while he grins with his sharp teeth. He immediately bites her without hesitation, stunning Faye. She falls into his immense power, while noting she is the master. She desperately begs him to get out again. She starts to question the strange sensation she is feeling. She is elated while admitting that it is the ultimate pleasure she has ever had. But Jay responds with an ominous gaze. Lin apologizes immediately. Falling down to her knees, she calls him her master and respectfully begs him to resume the ritual. She bows to him in desperation. Jay thanks her for feeding him, which helped him to think clearer. He starts to do the ritual, putting his finger on her forehead. A mark appears on her head which symbolizes that she is his dependent officially. She expresses her immense gratitude and loyalty to her new master. She suddenly asks him why he is inside a human form that looks weak, but Jay's face turns sinister and tells her that she doesn't need to know about it. She trembles in terror and apologizes immediately to him. Jay tells him that he needs to rest and reminds him to treat his other self with loyalty. He doesn't want to attract attention, so he will introduce himself as her dependent. He closes his eyes and proceeds to rest. Lin admires him while noting how lucky she is for having two masters with different personalities. She tries to get creative on how to deal with the other Jay since he doesn't have a memory of his alter ego. He finally wakes up, slowly opening his eyes. His head is in pain until shock fills him after seeing Lin's silhouette behind the curtains. She congratulates him for becoming her dependent and asks if he is ready to do the ritual, terrifying him. He questions what is going on. Lin asks him to come over, but he is confused and thinks that there was a mistake. He attempts to leave, but he is locked inside. She hugs him and notes that she will take the initiative instead. He breaks loose, baffling him after she suddenly disappears. She asks if he is refusing her offer to become her dependent. He displays a sharp gaze and slams the wall. Lin finds his resistance interesting. Jay would rather die than become someone else's puppet. Lin reveals that he has no way to resist once someone stronger than him takes over his mind. She entices him with the pleasure that comes with the ritual. Lin notes that he will unconsciously want his master, her lips whispering in his ear, asking if he understands what she is saying. Lin suddenly offers a suggestion, asking if he wants to hear it. Meanwhile, the press awaits for the incoming motorcade. Black sedans parade through the street. A reporter announces the rare selection of a human dependent by Lin, which has drawn major attention. Lin is set to appear with her new dependent at the banquet, marking their first public appearance. Lin comes out of the car, while others criticize her decision to choose an irrelevant human as a dependent. Dependents are usually chosen from ancient human families tied to the vampire clans, making this a rare political move that surprises many. Jay is all dressed up as he finally comes out of the car. The audience is confused after seeing someone unknown. Jay and Lin make their first public appearance as they walk together. Cameras flash as the crowd reacts like excited fans to their grand arrival. The guards pay respect as they walk, while the crowd displays their admiration. Upon seeing Jay as her dependent, commenting that he looks normal and there is nothing special about him, they learn that he is just a simple human from an ordinary family that owns a barbershop. Civilians discuss how dependents usually come from vassal human families under the 7 vampire clan courts. To avoid bias from powerful families, Lin toured the country to recruit but ended up picking an ordinary human. The crowd assumes she chose a weak dependent so he'd be disposable if danger arises. They conclude that Jay is just a dispensable dependent that can be replaced anytime. Lin encourages him despite the criticism and asks him to look at the camera with a smile. Lin reminds him to behave and notes that pretending to be her dependent is an important mission. Jay feels strange after getting all the attention, which makes his every move calculated. The two approach the entrance of the large mansion until Duke Ian greets her with respect by the entrance. Duke gazes at Jay sharply, confirming the successful ritual based on his aura. He can't deny that Jay is really Lin's dependent since they share the same aura. An elderly man expresses her disappointment with the selection process, while Lin simply acknowledges his comment. Lin explains to Jay that many people are against her decision since he is a weakling after all. Other high-ranking guests in the banquet look at Jay with disdain, while Lin playfully turns to him and asks what she should do. He looks confused since he believes that he is just a simple human with no powers. Lin asks him to get rid of everyone inside, offering to teach him supernatural powers as a reward. Jay is stunned by her tempting offer wherein he can gain a new power. Still inside the mansion filled with genetically powerful humans, two dependents approach Lin respectfully to take Jay. She cheers on him while he recalls what happened when he first met Lin and the time he was ambushed during the contest. The dependents take him to a room, but Jay is distracted as he recalls how he ended up in Lin's room. The dependents wait for him to get in while telling him that Lin is unable to save him this time. They explain that it is Dependents Night, which is a part that newbies go through when they join. Jay needs to complete the transition to a higher race in all aspects. They note that no one can stop a ritual that has been handed down from the royal court. The two dependents shove Jay into the room until a figure in the dark welcomes him. The CEO of the Dependents Night introduces herself while the other members sit at a long table. Jay and the other dependents sit quietly while the CEO begins the ceremony. They raise their hands in the air while the CEO tells them to repeat after her. The crowd breaks into fervent worship, pledging their loyalty to their god. Jay experiences a goosebump until the CEO shouts his name, startling him. A waiter brings a piece of meat on a plate as the Holy Communion begins. The waiter serves the meat with a gold gaze, while Jay looks at it with confusion. He asks if it is a human meat, but the crowd responds with a sinister gaze. He slices the meat, still wondering its nature. The waiter suddenly takes the place from him, serving it to the CEO. She takes the sliced meat, eating it instead. The CEO enjoys a piece of a 10-month delicious milk sheep. She slams the table, urging everyone to use the Holy Communion. Wine is poured in the glass, throwing a toast and worshipping their lord named Norfrio. Their sharp teeth display as they mention their name. Dependent urges Jay to eat. He remarks on the rare royal feast quality and notes how new rules simplify human captivity under a formal constitution. He reveals that exotic ingredients were used before, which terrifies Jay. Dependenti tells Jay that he is on his side despite other people's dissatisfaction with him. He urges Jay to bear the challenges that come his way in the beginning, and he will be fine. He promises to take Jay someplace better after the ceremony is done. Dependenti explains that he just needs to disengage from human identity and re-understand the world with the eyes of a higher race. Dependenti points to Jay, telling him that he will get addicted to these things in the future, which shocks him. Jay finds the whole ceremony insane, describing it as a night of arrogance and the ultimate carnival built on human suffering. Jay is immensely overwhelmed, until the CEO announces that it is time for the next part. They suddenly bring out a young prisoner. The crowd can't contain their excitement after learning this sacrament is being held at the ceremony. The CEO admits that the sacrament is against the law, but she insists on wanting to please Lin. Jay looks worried about the prisoner in front of him. The CEO snaps her finger and announces the start of the next part of the ceremony. Jay and the prisoner remain in the spotlight, while he looks around to check on the crowd. His shock displays, seeing the others levitate in the air. The CEO mentions the sacrament, increasing Jay's confusion. The little prisoner stands without any emotions. Jay turns to her with worries in his eyes. The girl stands innocently, while Jay remains shocked. She raises her arm, then brings out a sharp knife to cut herself. The crowd's feral excitement displays, while Jay is rendered speechless as the prisoner offers herself. His determination to be Lin's dependent displays despite the damage he sustained. Tears well up her face while telling Jay to enjoy her offering. The CEO angrily urges Jay to hurry up and perform the ceremony. The crowd mocks him for being a coward. Jay realizes that the Dependents Night is held to help newbies adjust to their new identity. The CEO warns Jay he'll be disqualified and made the next sacrifice if he skips the ceremony. Jay remains still despite the CEO's threats. He coldly asks them if they want to take the offering in front of him. The crowd responds that humans are the most basic food for them. The CEO notes that the strong are always at the top of the food chain in vampire laws. Jay realizes that humans and dependents are just the same except for taste. The crowd confirms his realization and warns him to be more respectful of them. Jay remains silent after the crowd orders him to finish the ceremony immediately. Jay silently notes that dependents receive a higher status than ordinary humans, but still below the vampires, which he believes to be a cruel truth that the association wants to convey. He gently wipes the prisoner's tears, expressing his disdain against the system. His eyes turn scarlet while declaring his desire to crush all of them. At the banquet, a woman introduces a man as her family's so-called competent son to Lin, who also serves as the chief of provincial police. Zugo politely greets her and mentions that he's heard much about her. He asks her for a dance, but she politely refuses. Zugo's mom asks him to take Lin to a quieter place instead since she doesn't want to dance. The woman hopes that his son gets to marry Lin so she could help advance her family's status. She learns that Lin's dad's position in the imperial court is unstable, suppressed by the king. She scorns Lin for ignoring the bigger picture and questions if she still dares to oppose the powerful force. Lin notices that Zugo's mom is watching while he awkwardly explains that she has heard about her demeanors before. He explains that he wants to get to know her more, but Lin's mind is somewhere else. She expresses that she is worried about her dependent. Zugo questions if her new dependent can handle the ceremony, offering his help as the host is his old friend. Lin shrugs off the challenge and is only concerned about offending the other dependent's powerful owners. He doubts her dependent's chances and notes that they don't inherit their master's full strength. He argues that he's too new to be strong and lacks time to absorb power, unlike the evolved veterans inside. Zugo doubts the dependent can win in a day even if he is a genius. Her pride displays in her eyes, revealing that her so-called dependent is the actual king, surprising Zugo. She responds that it is just a joke and hopes that she can meet the king in the future. He proposes to Lin, saying marriage will help him become governor and reach the king. Suddenly, they are interrupted by a panicking crowd that something wrong is happening inside. Lin asks Zugo to check the commotion together, noting that her dependent seems to be in trouble. Everyone is shocked after entering the room. Jay carries the human sacrifice as the other dependents lie lifeless on the ground. They make Jay explain himself. He reveals he destroyed them and calls them traitors to humanity. Jay believes that they had it coming, every one of them. Suddenly, he realizes what has been happening. Jay holds his head and points out his confusion, just like what happened before. The only thing he can remember is the feeling of his fist on a flesh. He finds the sensation weird, realizing that catching the lava fish before was already strange. Jay also remembers the bite marks that he saw when he woke up, not to mention the illogical power he possesses. He questions his identity, asking if he is still a human. An old guest named Hugo expresses his frustration at Jay, but Lin tells him to calm down. Hugo can't contain his frustrations after seeing his dependent unconscious on the floor. Other hybrids mock Hugo and his useless dependent. He looks at her with disappointment, but the CEO of the association desperately begs for his mercy. However, he finishes the job by killing his own dependent. Hugo suddenly turns to Lin and suspects that she doesn't want to hand over Jay, but she tries to act clueless. Suddenly, a massive cage traps the mansion. Everyone waits for Baron Kai to arrive as the place gets sealed off and casually chats about not seeing him for a long time. The hybrids take this opportunity to advance their status since Kai's position is compromised in the royal court. Lin realizes that everyone wants to meet her dad. She immediately calls him from her phone, telling on the guests and accusing them of bullying her. She suddenly sits confidently on the couch and tells everyone to wait for her dad. She calls Jay over, ordering him to give her a massage. He is stunned for a moment but immediately follows her. He stands still next to her, slowly touching her back, but she tells her to put pressure. Lin playfully expresses the pleasure she feels from his massage. Zugo's big brother mocks him after scoring a blind date with Lin earlier. Zugo insists that Lin's family is still powerful despite his dad's political problems. He notes that it is only one step away from the king-level power if he takes on Baron Kai's position. He thinks about combining their forces to defeat Kai, excited with the possibility of reaching his status. Lin notices Jay's discomfort and asks him about it. He is stunned after she speaks to him in his consciousness, asking her how she is able to do it. She explains that they are speaking in a private place only masters and dependents can access. Lin reassures him that no one except the two of them can know about their conversation. He suddenly panics after learning that he is in a dependent space. He is certain that she hasn't bitten him yet and calls her a cheater. She simply looks at her with her eyes filled with pleasure. Jay feels betrayed after learning that he is no longer human, but Lin tries to calm him down. She encourages him to cultivate quickly as her dad is arriving soon. She explains that she needs to increase her strength since only 1% of her power is integrated, which leaves him confused. He tells her to get off his body as there are many people watching outside, calling her insane. She blushes while drooling uncontrollably. Jay cries out as power surges through him, overwhelmed by the heat flooding his body. Lin urges him to guide the energy and take control of it. A massive blank page suddenly forms. Jay looks at his power, the potential stored in the depths of everyone's soul. The page reflects his growth, which is shaped by understanding the rules, self, and others. Jay can't see anything on the page, which is why he could only use brute force. Lin asks him to give her a kiss before she teaches him how to write the rules. Jay focuses on how to write his powers until a pen appears on his hand. The massive pen starts to write on the page, scribbling aggressively until strands of light flashes, shocking Jay. A massive 3-door refrigerator suddenly appears, which baffles him. His confusion displays while Lin offers to tell the reason if only he kisses her. Jay tries to open the door, but to no avail. He feels like he can't control the power inside of him. Lin is overjoyed as she finds her master adorable. Lin explains that the power pages of ordinary people are all fonts or patterns. She notes that her master has never seen such a direct 3D stereoscopic visualization, while Jay still can't figure out how to open the fridge. Lin gushes over him, but he tries to push her away. She suddenly turns serious and admits that she doesn't know what a refrigerator is, but she feels it is a little dangerous. Meanwhile, Hugo observes Jay and finds him odd. Something suddenly breaks their attention inside their consciousness. A powerful thunder roars outside, heralding the arrival of a formidable presence. A massive light flashes in the sky until someone crashes through the mansion like a meteor. Kai has finally arrived. His ominous presence fills the mansion. Hugo is shocked that his shield is broken, but Kai notes that he did not notice anything at all. Kai mocks the design of the mansion, so he decides to break it. The other guests are not even safe from his criticism. Hugo expresses his disdain at Kai for running his mouth. Kai can't help his straightforwardness and wants to leave the place immediately. Lin approaches her dad and both are overjoyed by their reunion. Kai suddenly notices something about his daughter. He senses a change in his scent. His ominous aura displays, but Lin immediately explains that it is because of her dependent. She suddenly grabs Jay and introduces him to their dad. Kai takes a good look at Jay, displeased by his appearance. Hugo angrily interrupts them, telling Kai that his daughter offended them and he must compensate. A massive explosion erupts behind them, completely collapsing the building. Kai looks at them with a menacing grin. He continues to mock the other hybrids, which angers them more. The hybrids warn Kai that he is outnumbered and he will pay the price for his arrogance. Kai levitates, telling them that they don't know the difference between their strengths. His energy charges, unleashing a massive impact from above. The hybrids panic on the ground as they get struck by Kai's power, while Hugo summons his shield to protect him. However, a massive rock strikes his back and weakens him. Others use flash steps to escape, but they're also caught by large falling debris. The hybrids lie on the ground after taking Kai's attack. They are overwhelmed by the power of a highborn. Kai responds that numbers don't matter to vampires like them, emphasizing the difference between highborn and hybrids. Hugo warns they'll expose him to the king if he keeps going, while Lin urges her dad to just finish them off. The hybrids are rendered speechless after Kai refuses to finish them as their ugliness will give him nightmares. Kai confidently tells them to report him to the king. Kai mocks the king, which the hybrids find disrespectful, while Jay looks for something. He suddenly sees the unconscious human sacrifice lying on the ground. Jay notices that the girl is safe thanks to Kai, who held back his power. Kai implies that human sacrifice is beautiful and must be protected. They finally decide to leave the place. The reporters outside note the incident, preparing to spread the news. The incident reaches the front pages immediately, which headlines Jay and Kai. Meanwhile, Lin welcomes Jay and asks if the dust has settled already. He tried to take the little prisoner home, but she noted that she knew her way back. The girl chose to go ahead, thinking she would just be a burden. Lin teases him for not running away, and he admits he considered it, but he'd just get caught anyway. Jay asks what happened to his body, but she tells him not to rush and says her dad wants to see him. Kai waits in his study room and refers to Jay as a humble dependent. His ominous face displays while asking if he has chosen between life and death already, rendering Jay speechless. Kai tells him to pick a mask fast to cover his unappealing face, or he will regret it. Jay follows him right away, which brings Kai some relief. Lin chimes in saying she's happy with Jay, then Kai tells him to follow him. Jay is surprised upon learning that their destination is the Holy City. Kai says he's being recalled for a meeting after the incident and tells Lin not to worry. Kai confidently tells them that he and King Chad are like brothers and rumors are just rumors. He tells everyone to be ready and they will leave in 5 days. Jay and Lin remain in the room. He implies his desire to return home, but Lin thinks he still doesn't understand his situation. She gives her 3 days to decide and she will wait for his answer. Jay forgets to ask her about his body and powers as she leaves the room. His phone suddenly rings and a panicked voice begs for help the moment he answers. It is Wayne. Jay immediately rushes to get to Wayne. He is confused after seeing that the Dependence building is empty and the security guards are not around. He knocks on the door and looks for Principal Wen to ask if Wayne is home. He suddenly notices that the door is unlocked, prompting him to enter the dark room. He searches the room and doesn't see any signs that a fight erupted until he steps on a picture frame. He picks up a picture of Wayne and his dad, sensing that something bad has happened. Jay is worried, certain that they are in danger. He goes to the police station but gets rejected when asking for help. Jay panics while the police director explains that it is normal for adults to disappear for a few hours. The director tells him to go home, but Jay insists there's a real case and urges them to act. The director snaps back and says that they only serve the vampire clan and not civilians like him. Jay responds with shock, An officer rushes over and reveals Jay is Lin's new dependent, which makes the boss panic. The director suddenly becomes overly polite and welcomes Jay with flattery. Jay demands action, which prompts the director to personally volunteer to lead the investigation. The officer suddenly whispers to her boss. The director suddenly backs out after learning that the problem is an internal conflict between their clan. The director sweats profusely as he continues to explain that everyone close to him is affected, shocking Jay. He immediately calls his dad, to which he responds with an angry tone. Jay is relieved he's fine, but his dad says he's still surprised he suddenly became a dependent and asks him to come home for dinner. Jay is confused that Wayne is attacked instead of his own family. Butler suddenly appears and explains that his family will always be protected. He adds that it's just a warning to scare rich families from exploiting commoners. Jay responds angrily, while Butler explains that all families have been fighting for his position, but he simply denies its value. In short, Jay is hated by most families right now. He focuses his attention on finding Wayne instead. Butler reveals that their men have already followed Wayne and his dad to keep an eye on them. The butler awaits Jay's orders before they make their move, noting that he holds the sharpest weapon, that is power. Jay looks tense as Butler asks what he plans to do next. He orders Butler to save them immediately. Meanwhile, the nobles celebrate after the king has summoned Kai to the capital. The hybrid is insulted that Lin chose a commoner, but his dependent tells him not to worry since Jay's friend is captured to torment him. The dependent orders to torture Wayne and not kill him yet. She tells her master to rest and come back tomorrow for the surprise meal. A loud impact suddenly shakes the room and alarms them. Jay appears in the sky surrounded by his allies. His eyes glow red as energy surges around him. The mansion panics as their enemy ambushes them. Butler and his allies spread their wings as they surround the place. His ominous grin displays with killing intent. The hybrid warns them not to come over, but there is nothing he can do as Jay enters the mansion. The noble downplays his attack as a small issue and desperately tries to negotiate with them. Principal Wen lies on the ground, while Butler reports that he is losing his breath, which angers Jay. The dependent stops them and starts to mention names to protect them, but Jay and Butler stand silently. The latter responds that other masters are not around and the decision is not up to him. Jay stands with his intimidating aura while Butler asks the dependent to beg him for mercy. The dependent and her master are rendered speechless, desperately begging him to spare their lives. The dependent stops her master only to receive a slap from him. The noble sincerely returns Wen and his son and understands that they are good friends with Jay. The latter warns the noble that he will die if something bad happens to Wayne. They proceed to the basement and ensure Wayne's safety. The noble leads them to a room only he can open. He scans his eyes to unlock the door, slowly opening the room. The noble respectfully lets them in first, but Jay tells him to go ahead. Something suddenly catches Jay's attention, seeing Wayne unconscious in an open coffin. Jay immediately enters the room, but the noble has other things in his mind and presses a giant red button. The door suddenly closes, while Butler tells the others to inform Lin immediately. He silently notes that Jay is trapped with a veteran noble who cultivated to the 3rd level. He smiles menacingly, assuming Jay will meet his end soon. Jay and the noble are left alone in the room, while the latter pours wine in the glass. The noble prepares a surprise for Jay since it will take time to open the heavy door. Jay's frustration displays, but he immediately rushes to Wayne. He is shocked to see a bite mark on his friend's neck. The noble's second brutal surprise is to show that he turned Wayne to his dad and kill him. The noble finds his plans exciting, taking pleasure from Jay's expression. The noble snaps his finger to activate the climax. He wakes up the newly turned Wayne and orders him to make a performance for his master. Wayne slowly opens his eyes, shocking Jay. The noble eagerly anticipates who's stronger between the two dependents. Wayne immediately attacks Jay, landing a strike on his friend's shoulder. The noble reminds Jay that his friend doesn't have free will anymore. Wayne goes on a rampage to tear his friend apart. Jay can't believe what happened to his innocent friend. He clenches his teeth in frustration, calling the world garbage as the heartless nobles run it. The noble mocks Jay's resolve and claims that humans are meant to be ruled and devoured in a natural order. The noble boasts he can kill Jay without consequence, and everyone can easily forget, which includes Lin and her dad. The noble orders Wayne to use his special trick, a skill that he inherited from his master. Jay is rendered speechless, seeing his friend activates his special power, which increases his agility and damage by 300%. Wayne lunges at Jay while using his powerful burst that only lasts 1 minute. Crimson bursts everywhere as Jay and Wayne meet. The noble laughs loudly with satisfaction, finding the scene entertaining for him. Meanwhile, Wayne's eyes return to normal, relieving Jay that it finally stopped. Jay hugs his friend with a smile and tells that he got him. He promises Wayne not to worry and it will be over soon. The noble is shocked, Seeing that Jay is about to turn his friend, he proceeds to bite Wayne, but the noble mocks him, saying only pure ones can unmark a dependent and he's not qualified. Red veins appear on Wayne's shoulder, recalling his actions a few minutes ago. Jay stood still while noting how fast Wayne was that he couldn't even touch his coat. He went to his dependent space and took a look at the giant fridge. He couldn't open it and thought it was too late. He was surprised to see Lin, explaining that they could cross-communicate within a certain range, which she could only do with Jay. His range was much wider than an average human. Jay asked her for advice, but she would tell him only if he gave her a kiss, rendering him speechless, but she took it back and noted that she was only kidding. Lin couldn't open the fridge since it was his power, but would teach him how to handle saving someone who became another's dependent. She told him to grab Wayne and turn him into his own dependent, noting that becoming a dependent was irreversible. She offered to teach him, but it was up to him if he was going to do it to his friend. She told him not to worry since he was her dependent and had pure lineage, which made the job easy. Lin reminded him that he was running out of time. He could either mark his friend or kill him. In a flashback, Wayne dreamed of the time he returned home while his dad was writing. He decided to cook while his dad asked him what he thought about his calligraphy. Wayne praised his dad that it was wonderful as always. He asked his dad if he wasn't getting tired of writing the same thing. Wayne told his son that the laws of heaven, earth, and humans are in danger, so they always needed a reminder. Wayne's confusion displayed, so his dad stopped and offered to do the dishes instead. Wayne insisted on doing it instead while he asked his dad where the writer's cultivation was. Wayne's last memory was their picture on top of his dad's calligraphy. He suddenly wakes up from hypnosis, screaming in pain as his consciousness returns. The ritual continues while they are surrounded by Jay's immense power. The noble is shocked to see his power, needing to stop Jay to convert his dependent. He unleashes his power, rushing to kill Jay while performing the ritual. A massive explosion erupts as he lands on the ground, only to find an empty space. The noble is shocked to see Wayne carrying Jay, who is unconscious. He gently drops his friend on the ground, gently looking at his friend. The noble laughs at the scene until he coughs red. He realizes that his link to the dependent is broken. The noble is confident that Wayne is no match against him, who holds a pure lineage. Wayne strikes in with a powerful slash, stopping the noble's arrogance. Wayne carries a gentle smile, following his attack with multiple slashes, which strikes the noble, finishing his life effortlessly. He drops to the ground as Wayne turns his back on him. He checks on his unconscious friend. He lifts Jay's head, reminding himself what it means to be a human. Jay is suddenly stunned while watching from his dependent space, seeing Wayne's attempt to resuscitate him. Jay could only watch Wayne go crazy with his power, astonished by how strong his friend has gotten. He turns to Lin and realizes how strong her lineage is. Wayne suddenly stops, putting his sharp claws on his chest. Jay is shocked while Lin tells him that he is going to self-destruct, noting that he doesn't want to live anymore. Wayne acts according to his instincts since Jay, who is his new master, has stopped breathing. Wayne's eyes look empty as he decides to meet his end, but Jay tries to reach him and remind that it is not too late for his friend. He suddenly manages to grab his friend through desperation, taking him into his own dependent space. Wayne is shocked while Jay tells him to calm down and listen to him. Wayne stands up, only to kneel in front of Jay as a sign of respect. Lin explains that the obedience in him will take over as soon as their spiritual connection stabilizes. Wayne will obey him no matter what Jay asks, highlighting the loyalty of a dependent. Jay asks for a different way and doesn't want his friend to become his own dependent. He asks Lin to give him free will, just like how he became her dependent, rendering her speechless. Jay desperately urges Lin, but she is taken aback by his request, leaving her heart fluttering. She suggests giving Wayne a thorough marking since he only bit his friend, which is not the standard ritual. Jay looks clueless until he realizes how intimate it sounds. He grabs the fridge's door and tries to escape, his hands trembling from nervousness. The door suddenly opens until they see a piece of ice cube inside. The three of them are rendered speechless. While Jay slowly gets closer to the item, the cube suddenly emits a surge of light, shooting towards Wayne. A glowing symbol suddenly engraves into his forehead, leaving Jay shocked to see a flower pattern. Lin suddenly gets pissed off, immediately leaving Jay's consciousness. Jay asks if Wayne is already awake, but tears immediately well up his friend's eyes. Wayne looks for his dad right away, rendering Jay speechless. He takes his friend to see his dad, unconscious after what he went through from the evil noble. Wayne apologizes, while Jay lowers his gaze at the painful sight. After the overwhelming turn of events, Butler informs Jay that the principal's body has already been taken to the cemetery. He explains that normal humans are not allowed to be buried in the cemetery, but they made an exemption since Jay is Lin's dependent. Jay calls Butler, asking if he already realized that it was a trap from the beginning. Butler responds that Jay misunderstood it. He throws the question back at him, but suddenly feels a sharp pain in his chest. Butler finds it strange as he receives the arrow of punishment, which is delivered by Lin telepathically. Butler can't believe that he is getting punished after going against her will despite his loyalty. He describes his defiance as just a trivial matter. Butler can't believe that Lin is taking Jay's side, whom he considers as a lowly being. Lin notes that she is only giving Butler a minor punishment as a warning, noting that no one can make her master angry. At the funeral parlor, someone calls Wayne. He turns around while holding an urn, rendering Jay speechless. Wayne explains that he doesn't want his dad to share the same burial place as the monsters and decides to bring him home. Jay signals that it is time to leave. Upon arriving at his friend's place, Wayne opens the door, entering his empty home. He tells Jay to have a seat anywhere, while he makes Jay a black tea which his dad liked. Wayne shared that his dad would go deep into the mountains just to collect the tea leaves. Now he doesn't know what to do with the tea leaves that his dad left. His hand trembles as he pours hot water in the cup. Wayne suddenly breaks down, prompting Jay to cry uncontrollably. He apologizes to his friend and hoped he could have just kept his power hidden. He calls himself a monster, but his friend stops him. Wayne responds that he has nothing but gratitude for his friend. Jay is rendered speechless while Wayne thanks him for giving power he can use to avenge his dad. He also asks Jay what he is then if he considers himself a monster. He looks at his dad's calligraphy, wondering if those with powers are still human, but realizes they're just stronger variants. He adds that races may differ in strength, but they all evolved from humans, and only humanity sets them apart. He tells Jay that both of them are not monsters as long as they keep their humanity. Wayne says he has made his decision and already found his purpose. He carries a smile and hopes that Jay will not stop him, since he is his master after all. Wayne believes that they have the same desire since dependents have always obeyed their master's wishes. Wayne's menacing grin displays as he expresses his desire to kill the vampires with their combined powers. Jay is rendered speechless after seeing Wayne so differently. The masters will not suspect anything, and Wayne wants to take advantage of that to take their lives. Wayne is determined to work hard, starting by writing a thesis on understanding 100 weaknesses of a vampire. On second thought, Wayne hasn't changed at all and remains to be an A student. Jay tells him to lay low for a while until they have gotten stronger. He throws the pressure back at Jay and notes that weak soldiers can't win without a strong leader. He encourages Jay to train harder so they can grow stronger together, while he studies how to defeat enemies in one blow. Jay doesn't know how to respond while Wayne proceeds to buy books online. He steps out in the middle of the night while wondering if Wayne is going to study all night. Jay is determined to grow stronger fast since power matters in their world. He senses that there's a mighty power within his body, but he doesn't know how to unleash it. Even the ice cube inside the fridge remains a mystery to him. He suddenly gets overwhelmed, but he wants to make Wayne's wishes come true. Jay suddenly jolts after realizing something. He recalls the 3 days that Lin gave him to decide. Jay accepts the fact that they live in a world that belongs to the vampire and they can't avoid them as humans. Their only choice is to get stronger no matter the cost. He clenches his fist as there are no other ways to protect their families to achieve their freedom. Jay calls Wayne and asks to send him a copy of the data he's been compiling. News of Baron Kai wiping out another vampire family spreads fast, leaving the entire city stunned and disgracing the king. In an eerie castle, the king reads a note, requesting to impeach Kai for treason. He burns the paper while noting that the king's meeting will be held in 3 days. He orders his servants to inform Kai that he must attend. At the hospital, Jay takes his dad for a checkup even though he is not sick. He lets out a sigh, worried that Lin might do something funny at the capital. He finds it strange that he can keep his free will after she turns him into her dependent. Jay plans to ask Wayne to take care of his dad once he departs for the capital the next day. He is suddenly stunned after seeing the girl from the dependent's night. Turns out that her name is Nina, and the mayor is her dad. Jay is speechless and can't believe that they are relatives. The mayor stops after seeing Jay, while Nina reminds her dad that it was Jay who rescued her. The mayor thanks her for reminding him. He explains that it was too late before he knew that her daughter became a sacrifice, and he couldn't thank him personally due to his position. Jay is still baffled while noting that the mayor should be a strong figure. He asks him how the hybrids took his daughter, but the mayor simply responds that it was because of their impulsive desires. He wallows in self-pity as he highlights that a normal human like him doesn't have a say to vampires. Jay is rendered speechless until the mayor suddenly warns him not to go to the capital. He is shocked after learning that it is a trap since the king wants to get rid of Kai. Jay and the mayor part ways while the two share a sharp gaze. The mayor's warning bothers Jay, prompting him to inform Lin immediately. Jay texts her about the looming danger in the capital, suggesting that they should come prepared. Lin instantly replies with a heart emoji, showing how delusional her messages are. Jay's dad suddenly notices him, while Lin casually says she's just recalling the intimate time they once shared. Jay gets goosebumps from reading her messages. Lin tells him to come to her room once he returns. Jay's dad suddenly approaches him and reminds his son to do it in moderation. Jay tries to deny it, but his dad laughs and says he used to be called the Leonardo DiCaprio of hairdressing. Jay's dad excitedly tells him their salon went viral because of his new status and hairstyle. Jay offers to help at home, but his dad turns him down and tells him to focus on being independent. His dad admits he knows Jay's future now lies in the vampire world, wishing his son all the best. Jay is stunned when his dad tells him that he will wait for him in their little barbershop no matter what happens in the future. Jay promises that he will do his best. His dad suddenly grabs him for a selfie, proudly planning to display his childhood photos as proof of their bond and to promote their salon. He decides to post the photo outside their shop for everyone to see. Jay can sense that his dad must be really worried, which makes him even more determined to get stronger to keep him safe. Meanwhile, he feels that Lin already knew about the danger since she doesn't seem to be bothered by his warning. Jay is uncertain if he can protect himself and hopes that there is a crash course on getting stronger. Someone suddenly hands him a promotional flyer about a martial arts academy. The staff smiles gently and asks if he is interested. The girl takes him to the academy, which looks like a regular gym. He notes that gyms are referred to as martial arts academies in the vampire world, except there are real sparring events happening inside. Jay is stunned to see how aggressive the sparring can get. A professional boxer named Will suddenly notices Jay's familiar appearance, challenging him to sparring. Jay declines the fight and says that he's busy, but the trainer insists that fighting is the first step to gaining strength. He taunts him and calls him a coward. Jay asks what happens if he wins or loses. Will is confident that he will win and warns there will be a price to pay if Jay loses. Will suddenly turns into a salesman and offers his training course until mastery if Jay loses. Will is insulted by Jay's reaction and boasts his credentials as a 3-star coach with plenty of experience. Jay comments with utmost respect that Will looks quite weak. The coach challenges Jay to a fight and offers free training if he loses, but Jay counters that beating him would make the offer pointless. Will responds that his own mentor will coach Jay if he beats him. His coach's name is Master Sean. Jay feels like everything is just a marketing gimmick to him. The staff points out Will's low sales and feels pressured, warning him he might lose and embarrass himself. A gym bro asks how Jay will be eligible even if their master is recruiting. Jay finds the offer even sketchier the more he hears about it. Jay notices there are no vampires or dependents among them and doubts if they can fight real monsters. He concludes that the gym only exists for physical fitness purposes. He admits that he really wants to test his abilities, but his hesitation displays. Jay requests a free fitness and ability test after the fight, saying that's what he truly needs. Will agrees but questions why Jay cares more about a fitness test than proper coaching. Jay enters the ring with Will, confused at the boxing gloves, wondering what the numbers are for. Will explains that it is a force measurement equipment which is part of the fitness test. Jay notices that the protective gears are quite special. Even the barriers are made of steel. Jay understands that normal setup will not do for humans with special abilities in the vampire world. The staff becomes the referee and tells them to get ready. The other trainees cheer on Will and ask Jay to get ready for their friend's special tricks. Jay displays a sharp gaze. Will immediately throws a punch, but Jay manages to dodge it. Will pins his foot on the ground, launching himself into the air. He strikes a powerful punch on Jay, which he blocks. The audience notes that Will's punch is enough to break a hole on a wooden wall. Will goes for another punch and raises his power to 299. Meanwhile, Master Sean watches from the crowd and notes the use of a special ability to boost punching strength. The gym members are astonished to see their master appear. Will is hesitant to use his special power as Jay might not be able to withstand it. Sean tells him that Will is not observant enough, which is why he remains to be a 3-star coach. Sean loudly tells Will to open his eyes. Jay sweats profusely and catches his breath. A gym bro realizes Jay withstood the 299 punch without flinching and makes Will decide to fight seriously. He charges his fist with his special ability, ready to go all out. Will increases his power to 388, but Jay still wants to check if he can block it. His sharp gaze displays until their attacks clash and cause a massive impact. Will's fist hits the ground while his energy crackles around it. Will is rendered speechless, annoyed, and asks Jay to quit dodging. Jay says he didn't mean to dodge and admits he doesn't know how to use his special abilities yet. Master Sean loudly tells him to imagine, comparing it to sucking power from a milk box and spreading it through the body. This only confuses Jay until Sean urges him to ground himself and focus, rendering Jay speechless. He suddenly thought about the giant fridge that he couldn't open at first. Jay attempts to poke a hole on its side like what Sean advised, but it is too soft, so he shifts his imagination to use an electric drill. A sharp screech echoes as the drill pierces the giant fridge, until his power slowly unravels in thin strands of energy. Jay is shocked to learn that he can control it. He proceeds to absorb the strands of energy, feeling an energy transfer for the first time. The audience is stunned that he unlocked his special ability on the first try. Will trembles in fear and wonders if the fight should continue. Sean urges him to attack with full power, to which Will follows. He lands a powerful punch on Jay, but he simply dodges it without using any tricks, shocking Will. Jay displays a sharp gaze and prepares for his turn to counter. Master Sean yells for Jay to steady his stance and throw the punch with full force. Jay's punch crashes down with overwhelming force, which stuns Will. He tries to ask him to wait, but it is already too late. The punch lands with explosive force and sends shock through Will, sending him flying. The gym bros are stunned, seeing Jay's punching power to hit 688. Their shock resounds through the gym, noting that Jay threw a powerful punch as if it was nothing. Jay suddenly approaches Master Sean and confirms his identity. Jay meets with the renowned master, thanking him for his guidance and respectfully asks to be trained under him. Sean notes Jay's quick progress and compares him to his weaker student. Observing Jay's latent power, the master realizes he has potential but lacks control. Jay eagerly agrees and begs to be trained, while Will jokes about referral fees. The master admits he no longer takes students, which surprises everyone. However, he changes his mind and notes that Jay's potential is too great to ignore. Jay promises to do anything as long as he can be personally trained by Sean. The master slams his cup down and accepts him as his final apprentice. He vows to teach Jay everything in hopes he becomes a pillar for humanity. Jay agrees and starts the registration while the others celebrate excitedly. Jay finishes the forms, excited to make his payment. The staff freezes mid-sentence, while Sean's expression turns cold and unreadable. His sharp gaze displays, telling Jay that he takes back everything he said, and he can no longer teach him. The staff politely asks Jay to leave the gym since the business hours have ended, which confuses him. The staff is stunned that he is clueless. She clarifies if he is Lin's newest dependent, while Jay asks why does it matter if he is. The staff politely but firmly rejects Jay, insisting their humble academy is only for humans and unfit to train a noble dependent like him. Jay is stunned after their rejection, while Sean tells him that they won't see him off. Under the quiet night sky, Jay feels bitter that he was cast out because of his identity. Unable to hide his frustration, Jay reflects on how polite words couldn't hide their hostility once they learned his identity. In a world where vampires are praised, he questions why he was treated with fear instead. A sharp swooshing sound suddenly cuts through the night sky as Jay looks up in alarm. Assassins land in front of him and catch Jay off guard. He has no idea who they are until one of the assassins throws a kick towards him, while the other grabs his neck. Jay is unable to move while the assassins confirm his identity, urging him to answer them. They ask if he saw a woman who carried a gun during the selection process. The assassin angrily asks Jay what happened to her at the end of the test. He is rendered speechless. Jay recognizes that it is Will and makes a remark that his punching power is beyond 388. He realizes his force level is already at least 600 and thinks he wouldn't have considered joining his course if he had shown this strength earlier. Will and his companion are shocked that Jay could tell his identity behind their masks. Will displays his frustration and confirms his identity. He warns Jay that he is going all out and asks him again what happened to Faye. Will tests how much of his power his neck can bear. Jay suddenly grabs his arm, stunning Will. He uses his strength to throw him away. Will's companion strikes with a flying kick, but Will hits him with intense force. Will shouts in frustration, but Jay steps on his chest to shut him up. His opponents lie on the ground. A mysterious voice suddenly wonders if channeling extracted energy into the body's force point is the correct way to use a special ability. Sean stands in the dark, while Jay immediately recognizes him. Will is wounded and apologizes to his master. Sean scolds his student for attacking on his own and calls him stubborn. Will can't control his emotions while thinking about Faye. Sean unleashes his aura while reminding Will that Faye died with honor and not from foolishness. Jay agrees with Sean, but Will tells him that it is none of his business and calls him a vampire's lackey. Jay insists he's not and says they'd be dead if he were, but Will calls him a half-vampire who's no longer human. Jay insists he's still himself and begs for a chance to prove that human dependents can retain their will. Sean claims that anyone turned by vampires would lose their humanity and says proving it is simple. A woman suddenly calls him from the dark. She comes out and turns out to be the staff from earlier in a nurse's dress. She carries the Morbius pulsation treatment gun, explaining that it triggers the target's deepest desires and strips away disguises. With a cold gaze, she challenges him and asks if he's willing to take the test. Jay accepts the test, stunning everyone from the gym. Jay steps forward, grabbing the weapon and points it to his head. The staff reiterates what will happen to him, which only leads to his death despite his belief that he is one with the humans. Jay responds that it is the main reason why he wants to try it. He would rather find out now than become a puppet even if it kills him. Jay tells her to do it, while Sean questions if he ever considered they might be lying and the gun might just kill him. He says they'd be doing him a favor, admitting it's better to die by their hands than turn into a vampire. Jay believes there's no reason for them to lie and trust their intent completely. He tells her to shoot him, while the staff responds that she is not bluffing. She notes that humans will never stop fighting back as she shoots the weapon. A massive blast erupts from the gun, which is set to expose his true identity. Jay drops to the ground, while the staff quietly waits for the result. Sean warns her to watch out as Jay might transform. She stays back to keep her distance, while the others prepare to fight. Everyone has their guard up, waiting for Jay to move. Sean uses himself as an energy vessel, while the pulse column breaks the link between the vampire master and the dependent. He waits for Jay to show his true colors. He wakes up abruptly while surrounded by a scarlet aura which freaks out the staff. Jay's sinister appearance displays as she confirms that he is really a vampire, believing that he has lost it. After speaking passionately about siding with humans, Will tells them to stay away from Jay and wait for him to self-destruct. Jay advances toward them even though he should have lost control and started breaking down, which makes them believe he is a new variant of vampire. His sinister aura terrifies the staff until Jay returns to his normal form and snatches her weapon. Everyone is stunned after Jay innocently checks out the item. He commends the technology and notes that it is effective after taking out for a moment. Jay asks Sean if it is the same equipment he has beside him. The master can't believe that Jay is alright. He insists that he's human while the others panic and speculate he might be a new vampire species or a hybrid. Jay asks Sean if they could listen to him since he has proven that he is still human. His phone suddenly rings. They suspect Jay used a counterpulse device to block the signal and survive, prompting them to search him immediately. Jay gives them a sharp gaze, but they manage to take away his phone from him. Sean signals to them to answer the phone, revealing that it's Wayne on the other end. Wayne excitedly reveals a dark web thesis on vampire energy cores and insists they test the vampire-killing method on him immediately. Jay yells he's not a vampire, asking who researches ways to die daily, while the caller asks why he can't return to the dependent space. They are baffled after hearing Wayne, while Will points out that he is Jay's dependent. Meanwhile, Wayne goes to Jay's location and looks innocent. He gets shot in the head just like Jay earlier. He looks clueless and asks if it is a new form of greeting. He looks at everyone from the gym until Sean bursts into laughter. The others can't help but laugh as well. Wayne remains confused, while Jay notes that they have found some allies. He adds that they are no longer alone in their mission, noting that humans never cease to fight back nor give up on hope. For centuries, humans have fought back and refused to be controlled. If that weren't true, the world wouldn't be like this now. Vampires pretend to care about humans while controlling every part of human life. Through education, the internet, and culture, humans are conditioned to glorify vampires. Sean says humans aren't destroyed by vampires but by their own greed, yet he believes that no matter how hard it gets, they'll win in the end. Jay calls out to Sean. The master says he'll teach them but asks if they can handle not being fully trusted, which Jay and Wayne accept without hesitation. Jay shares a paper explaining how to kill vampires by targeting their core. Only high-ranking vampires have cores that hold inherited power, and while low-rank ones die when their bodies are destroyed, the powerful won't die unless their core is broken. Humans can barely handle lower-ranked vampires, and those ranked Earl or above are far too powerful to face. Jay confirms that Lynn's dad is an Earl, prompting them to mention they've been seeking a chance to kill him. Sean entrusts Jay with a mysterious box, warning him not to open it. Jay accepts the task and Sean says it's time to begin training. Jay and Wayne are thrilled while the latter asks if he can also learn. Both cheer with joy. 3 days later, a door slams open. Jay and Wayne lie on the ground, exhausted but proud. They celebrate being free from training and seeing the sun. Sean smirks while the others are relieved that they know now how it is like to be trained by their master. Sean tells them they must continue training on their own, realizing he may have overtrained them due to their resilience. He notes that despite looking like vampires, they still show humanity, which makes him wonder if they're humanity's last hope. Realizing the importance of their existence, he decides to report this to the higher-ups as they prepare to depart for the capital. Inside the car, Lynn poses for photos, but Jay is visibly uninterested. She teases him about being dull during the trip, but he questions if the banquet they're heading to is actually dangerous. Jae grows uneasy and focuses on the mission to deliver the item, while Lin complains he's ignoring her. She suddenly clings to him, which catches him off guard. Lin reveals she chose to travel by car instead of private plane just to spend more time alone with him. She corners him suggestively, causing him to panic and plead for space. Jae pushes her away and yells for her to stop, until a tiny explosion busts out suddenly, rendering Jae speechless. Lin suddenly turns into a tiny form. She cries and notes that she hates him. Jae panics while Lin demands to be comforted. She begs him to give her a kiss, but he tries his best to avoid her. Internally, she finds it amusing that her master hasn't been able to fight back at all since she transformed. Her master's order has turned her into a shocked state, and it would take a few days for him to recover. The limousine rocks aggressively, while the reporters observe from afar and feel jealous. In the other car, Kai chuckles and feels amused by their antics and reminiscing about his own youth. A bat suddenly enters the car window, reporting that the ship has been prepared where Kai can use it to escape. Kai senses that his servant cares for him, while the bat asks him why he insists on going to the capital despite the danger. The bat warns that his friend has changed since he became the king. Kai ignores the bat and demands some music, while the servant asks what song he wants to hear. The bat gets frustrated with him and notes that Kai is walking on a path straight to destruction. Kai responds that the bat will not understand and he plans to shake things up, rendering the bat speechless. Kai asks the bat to enjoy the music and relax, noting that the longevity of vampires has always brought chaos, emphasizing that everyone has forgotten the nature of life. They have finally arrived at the capital. Lin excitedly shares that the capital is the largest metropolis and most influential in the nation. She points to the palace, filled with the excited crowd. Lin notes that many people visit the capital because of the Seven Kings meeting, while Jae notices something. A conflict breaks out on the red carpet where a cloaked princess is carried by her subjects. The maids argue against the guards' demand for the Sakura princess to disembark her carriage. However, the guards insist and note that everyone below the king must enter the palace on foot to show respect for the king. Her maids protest and explain that their tradition forbids unmarried women from touching the ground. The standoff grabs media attention and sparks scandal as one side defends tradition and the other enforces law. The guards insist that the princess follow their nation's rules, but the maid stands their ground until something catches her attention. They notice Kai's family's entourage arriving by car and object to their entry. The guards respond that they never allow it and Kai has never cared about the rules. The crowd remembers what Kai did a few years ago and finds it amusing. Kai has been transferred out of the capital since then, while the others resent his arrogance. They expect things to get interesting since the king has summoned Kai in the capital. Kai smiles confidently inside his car. Meanwhile, the maids continue to dispute and can't believe that they are humiliating their princess. The princess, named Kyo, shivers and tries to calm her maids down. Lin suddenly opens her window and asks Kyo to ride in their car. She playfully introduces herself and empathizes with Kyo. She is rendered speechless, while Lin asks her again to ride in their car. She adds that the longer she stays, the worse the news will be and asks her to consider for the sake of their nations. The maid suggests they return instead, refusing to condone the king's disrespectful treatment. Kyo shakes her head, wanting to keep her promise to her dad to help him. Kyo thanks Lin for allowing her to give her a ride. She gives her apologies for bothering her while she steps on the wood-like bridge. Kyo sits gracefully with Lin and Jae. Her sadness is evident in her eyes. Jae can smell the scene of sakura blossoms, while Lin tells her driver to keep going. The press takes lots of pictures and notes that Kyo has to piggyback on Lin to enter the palace, which is the hottest headline. The Sakura Nation's maids are frustrated for humiliating their princess. The other maid tries to calm her sister down and warns her not to derail their king's plans. The guards stand steadily, observing the guests as they enter the palace. The maids grin menacingly and hint at sinister intentions. They note that they won't be laughing anymore soon. The fleet of cars enter the palace, while Lin and Jae sit quietly inside, as Kyo thanks Lin for helping her. Lin enthusiastically offers her help to Kyo in case she needs it in the future. The princess tells Lin that she can ask her for help as well to reciprocate her kindness. Kyo is stunned when Lin responds that she would not dare ask her for help, but she pauses. Lin asks Kyo if she has met Jae before. Kyo is shocked and clarifies if he is her dependent and finds him weak and vulnerable. She shares that they can never find a weak and vulnerable dependent like Jae in the Sakura Nation, explaining her surprise after seeing him. Lin confirms that Jae is indeed weak, explaining that they prefer to raise their dependents. Jae is insulted and feels like he is a dog. Lin adds that raising a weak dependent is a more fulfilling task. Things start to make sense for Kyo after Lin explains everything. Lin suddenly displays her sharp gaze and brings up Kyo's Sakura spirit, shocking the princess. Lin playfully points out that her scent is desirable. She confirms if Kyo can offer it while the princess is visibly uncomfortable. Lin is aware of how their scene is preserved, which contains powers and freshens up one's brain, vital for training. Lin highlights that these are the reason why anyone who marries a royal woman from Sakura Nation is invited. Kyo's sad eyes display while silently noting that they are treated as mere gifts and wonder if that is her fate. She thinks about her dad, while she fears that her Sakura spirit will be damaged soon and her scent will be polluted. She clenches her fist as she wonders if gifting part of the scent to a kind person will not be a problem. Lin suddenly calls Kyo and waits for her answer. The princess reaches her hand, releasing her majestic aura. Jay senses that the scent is 10 times more fragrant than before, and his mind feels so invigorated. Kyo reveals that it is the scent of the Sakura spirit. The princess holds a petal on her palm, asking Jay to accept it. He is astonished by the Sakura spirit on his hands, while Lin asks him to take care of it and thank Kyo for the gift. Jay thanks the princess while she stares at him blankly. Something still bothers Jay, sensing sadness in the princess's eyes. Lin teases Jay and notes that it is not impossible for him to pursue Kyo, highlighting how her Sakura spirit will help increase his power. She adds that it will also make him improve faster. A bearing horn echoes through the grand hall, calling for Kai. He confidently steps forward, but the bat warns him not to go in. Kai ignores his servant until a vision of a wooden house reminds him, with a familiar voice worried about him. Kai climbs up the stairs, contemplating his life in their nation. He proudly notes that it is the peak of his pride. Kai admits that the king's achievements are admirable except for one thing. He expresses disappointment in the king's lack of aesthetic sense, and says he should have been consulted before the new tower was built. The angry king orders Kai to enter the room. His annoyed expression displays as he sits on the throne. Kai carries a gentle smile as he greets him with utmost respect. Kai greets the other kings. King Meng stands firm with a 5-star Grandmaster Challenger rank, while King Cole quietly watches with 2 stars. The summit of the 7 kingdoms begins as the king's royal guard addresses all envoys, raising concerns about their king's absence. Minister Kidu from Ni Kingdom nervously explains their king stayed behind to take care of his concubines. He assures full cooperation, but Smokey from Sao Kingdom mocks Kidu's words, prompting the minister to fire back with a jab of his own. Smokey threatens Kidu with a sharp gaze. Kidu brushes it off and notes that she just ranked up and may not win. Meanwhile, Kyo nervously reports that her dad won't be able to come and apologizes to the king, shocking Kidu with her response. Rushja, the Mad Knight from Snowy Kingdom, complains about the Emperor's arrogance and the rushed 3-day summon. Prince Aster from Milken Kingdom mocks him, questioning his intelligence and authority. The knight lunges in anger, but Chancellor Des from Huria Kingdom coldly tells him the meeting has already started. He emphasizes the value of time and urges the Emperor to begin. King Chad appreciates Des' promptness and agrees to move on with the summit. The Royal Guard announces the Emperor's decree declaring an imperial edict. The king demands 6 kingdoms reduce tariffs and increase top representatives next year. The envoys respond in unison, acknowledging the command. The king dismisses them, telling them to attend the dinner banquet later. Kidu celebrates the chance to meet beautiful girls, while others question his devotion and move on. Kyo wonders if the king will attend the dinner and is looking forward to seeing him. Kyo excuses herself in her carriage, but Meng expresses his frustration. He accuses the emissaries of disrespect and urges punishment for their lack of respect. When Kai suggests peace, Meng lashes out and says he doesn't belong there. Kai mocks him back and claims he was forced to attend. Meng suddenly accuses Kai of treason and says he has proof. He declares that Kai leaked secrets and should be executed. Kai deflects his accusations, but Meng notes that he has proof. Using a projector, Meng shows the surveillance of Lin talking to Kyo inside the car. Kai casually defends his daughter, saying she helped a princess out of kindness. Meng counters that such coincidences don't happen repeatedly. The onlookers are shocked to see a surveillance of Kay's basement. They discover shelves full of masks and a hidden door. Behind it, they uncover the emblem of the Sakura Kingdom. Meng questions why Kai has the Sakura Kingdom emblem and brings up his past trip with a mysterious daughter. He demands Lin to be tested to prove her origins. He explains that each kingdom's lineage has unique powers linked to ancient branches. Meng warns that if Lin's result doesn't glow red and yellow, it means she's not truly from their kingdom. The tension rises as Kai reacts in silence. The king orders to summon Lin. She enters with Jay behind him. Lin greets the king and praises his vitality. Jay pays his respect and notes how young the king looks. The king immediately orders Lin to undergo a test to clarify her origin, leaving her stunned. The test is vital to clear his dad's name. Meng demands a test sample from Lin to prove Kai's loyalty, but he instantly deflects the attack. Meng accuses him of finally being caught, while Kai furiously defends his loyalty, status, and reputation, calling the accusation slander. Meng insists on a test, suggesting Kai's opposition is suspicious and hints at guilt. The two clash with energy blasts, alarming Lin and calling out in fear. Kai shouts at Chad for doing nothing, but the king coldly declares that old friendship holds no weight and supports the test. Kai realizes that it is a setup. A red energy swirls around Lin and Jay, grabbing them to escape. Meng immediately summons a massive seal, prompting panic from Lin. She is worried after getting separated from her dad. King Cole quietly summons his magic, pricking Lin, which catches her off guard. Kai suddenly appears before Cole, who gets a hold of Lin's sample. Kai's sharp gaze displays, but Meng belittles his ability as he tries to challenge him and Cole. Kai asks the king one more time if he still values brotherhood. Chad responds that the king should be ruthless. Kai's sinister aura displays while grinning after acknowledging Chad's response as he threatens the king. Meng displays his confusion and asks Kai what he means. Meng calls out Kai's arrogance as he attacks him. Kai questions if he knows why he owns a lot of masks. His aura rumbles as he explains it's to conceal unsightly appearances. Kai unleashes his true strength, declaring he will now reveal his aesthetics. Meng is shocked by Kai's equal power and wonders when he broke through. Meng uses his strongest shield to block Kai's powerful blast. Meng realizes that he is more than a challenger level as Kai breaks through his barrier, noting that he skips a lot of levels and reaches the Master Challenger status. Meng and Cole unleash their powers to match their opponents, but Kai decides to burn his own soul. The onlookers suddenly notice that the sky has turned red. A massive explosion erupts until Kai reaches the Grandmaster Challenger status. Meng summons his tigers and notes that Kai forced his way up by burning his soul. Kai and Meng clash in a powerful encounter. Meng is heavily wounded and questions Kai if he is really going to betray his country. Kai turns to Chad, wondering if they'll get the chance to fight to the death. Chad gazes at Kai sharply and asks if he knows what he is asking for. Kai admits that he is no match against Chad, but he wants to die at his hands. Chad unleashes his energy as he seemingly accepts Kai's challenge. Chad unleashes a fiery golden dragon while Kai hovers confidently in midair, stunning the onlookers on the ground. They can't believe that Kai defied the king in the sky. Meng and the others view this betrayal as a disgrace that shames the entire nation. They describe Kai as a sinner of their kingdom and call for his demise. Kai is irritated by their noise, asking if they really need to get worked up. He charges forward and notes that he just wants to punch the king in the face. Chad suddenly summons a barrier before him without even flinching, followed by a massive explosion. The impact shows as multiple explosions erupt around them. Kai calls out his familiar skill, revealing that he has been trying to figure out how to break Chad's unique space power. The king stops Kai and says that his attacks are useless against his layered space defenses. Kai responds that energies are meant to be consumed, no matter how noble and rare the abilities are. Kai displays his ominous power and notes that he can burn anything which Chad can't. Meng and the others are shocked, seeing the king struck in the face. Chad responds that things will be tricky if Kai keeps on doing his treacherous actions. Kai doesn't care and notes that he is having a good time. He is suddenly stunned when a ring beam strikes his arm, cutting his limb. Chad strikes again and declares that their battle ends already. The ring beams slice him in pieces, stunning everyone on the ground. Chad declares that Kai is gone forever. The king orders everyone to capture Kai's relatives and hunt Lin dead or alive. Chad commands to speed up the military screening, demanding that all sub-challenger warriors be tested for lineage purity and loyalty to the kingdom. Everyone follows the king's orders, praising him and pledging their loyalty to them. Smokey stands outside the kingdom and observes. She expresses her approval of the situation while Kidu asks if that is all she wants to say. Kidu summarizes everything and notes that the fight that erupted is all that matters. Smokey notes that the king's ability is worth studying since no one has seen him fight yet until now. Smokey and Sidhu share that they have both been secretly building troops inside the kingdom over the years. Everyone mobilizes except for Rustia, who is clueless of what is happening. They note that the chaos triggers a world war and peace is officially over. The royal guards inform Kyo that the dinner with the king is cancelled. They ask her if she could cooperate in a nationwide search. Accusations erupt as a search sparks outrage, with the maid denying involvement in the scandal and demanding to know why they are being targeted. The royal guard responds that the Sakura nation requires a special treatment which stuns Kyo. Guards enter as a maid blames the Orient Kingdom's unrest. While the princess quietly thinks of her mission, Kiyo remembers her dad's order to win the Emperor's favor and bear his children for their kingdom's future. He warns that this mission is crucial to the coming war, and failure means never returning home. Kiyo doesn't know what to do after making up her mind to offer her Sakura spirit until something strikes her attention. She senses the scent of her Sakura spirit nearby, wondering if Jay is within reach. Kiyo learns that Lin managed to escape with Jay and wonders if they are hiding around the area. She realizes that the guards are there to hunt them. Kiyo is torn if she should report them, which will lead her to meet the Emperor. She is tempted to do a selfish act to gain the king's favor and fulfill her mission. The guards decide to move on to the next location, but Kiyo stops them while her heart is pounding. She suddenly hesitates and changes her mind. The guards remind Kiyo to leave the kingdom the next day before sunset. Kiyo asks her maids to prepare her a bath and notes that she will deal with everything tomorrow. The cherry blossoms rustle in the hot spring. She orders her maid to leave her alone, which the maids find strange. Kiyo takes off her coat, diving into the spring. She suddenly notices a shell that emits a familiar scent until red hair emerges from the shell encasing Kiyo. The princess panics until Lin shows herself and thought she sensed the guards from the search team. Kiyo is stunned to see Lin and Jay. The princess asks Lin if she isn't afraid she'll report them after hiding so close to her room. Lin smiles and asks if she really can turn her savior in. She reveals that they are hiding near Kiyo so that they can make her their hostage if necessary, stunning the princess. Lin asks Kiyo to help them escape the kingdom and promises to reward her. She laughs menacingly, looking at Jay, and uses him to scare Kiyo. Lin threatens that he can potentially take Kiyo's remaining Sakura spirit. The princess freezes in fear. Her tears welled up after Lin attempted to bully her. She cries profusely and calls them the bad guys. Lin notes that she gets more excited the more she cries. Jay silently makes sense of everything and questions if they are really on a run after things happen rapidly. He thinks about Kai, worried that his friend and dad will also be interrogated. Lin reassures Jay and brushes off the idea that the royal family would bother targeting someone so insignificant like his family and friends. Jay acknowledges her point and notes that Master Shan will protect his dad and Wayne. He realizes he's in the most danger due to his connection with Lin and decides they must escape together. He watches as Lin tries to cheer up Kiyo with forced smiles. He suddenly questions her lack of grief over Kai, surprising her with his bluntness. She admits she expected that question all along. She says she has no family left, and he's the only one who shares her lineage. Jay stares at her in shock. Lin suddenly hugs Kiyo tightly, teasing her about sharing the princess's Sakura spirit. He is completely petrified by her offer. The next day outside the palace, the Sakura Kingdom sit in chairs carried through the palace gates under watchful eyes. Onlookers wonder if they're heading home and comment on the king's mercy for not imprisoning them. Gossip spreads that Kai had close ties with the Sakura nation. The guard suddenly stops them, but the maids sarcastically remark on the constant searches since arriving in the so-called land of etiquette. The guard hands them a farewell gift instead from the king. He insists that the gift should be received by the princess herself, rendering everyone speechless. The princess unveils the curtain, accepting the gift with gratitude. Kiyo notes that they are leaving while Lin sits on her lap in the form of a doll. The guards give them a sharp gaze while they observe. The box sits quietly next to the princess. The princess and her team have finally left the palace, thinking that it was close. Jay is dressed up as one of Kiyo's guards and is surprised that they did not check. Lin suddenly intrudes his mind and asks if he really thinks they did not check. Jay is surprised that she is talking in his mind again. Lin notes that the gift is a detector. She notes that her sample is already inside the box, revealing that it will alarm if it matches the molecular breath of her sample. Jay asks why the alarm did not go off. Lin smiles playfully and responds that it is a secret, annoying him. Lin reveals that the Sakura spirit masked her sample, while Kiyo asks when she is leaving her carriage. Lin suggests that Jay gets the Sakura spirit and blends with the princess. Lin will adjust her scent to match Jay's, which makes it easier to solve their problem. Lin is confident that they will succeed since Jay is strong. Lin wonders what rank of kindred is her master, allowing the spirit to blend without any obstacles. As they near the border, the princess cries in protest, while Lin playfully urges her to calm down. Lin tells her that the exciting part is coming, revealing that there will be a fight ahead before they leave the Orient Kingdom. Lin tells the princess that she is the target, revealing that her death is vital to start the war. Lin turns serious and notes that the attackers have arrived already. The assassins note that only 2 masters are present and the princess is not very strong, attacking with the intent to kill Kiyo. The assassins attack the Sakura Kingdom's guards in an ambush, tainting their pure cherry blossoms. The other guards are alarmed and ensure to protect the princess. Kiyo summons her magic and uses the Sakura posture. The assassin strikes an attack at her, wounding the princess as she asks who they are. The assassin laughs darkly, saying it's a shame they can't enjoy some fun with her. Lin suddenly shows up to block their attack and challenges them to keep playing with her. The assassins are stunned, while Lin tells them that they have plenty of time. The enemies recognize Lin, which flatters her. One assassin volunteers to take care of Lin while the other deals with the princess. Lin attacks swiftly, unleashing sharp red strands. The assassin charges at the princess, freezing her as she is unable to know what to do. Someone suddenly comes to her rescue, grabbing her away from the blast. Jay saves the princess, who is completely stunned, while the assassin continues to attack them. Jay dodges the attacks while carrying the princess, but one strike grazes his face. Kyo is surprised and still thinks that Jay is too weak to protect her. The assassin summons his spirit beast as he continues to attack them. The beast lets out an intimidating roar, prompting Kyo to scream in terror. The beast is suddenly stunned, trembling in fear. Jay suddenly transforms into his ominous alter ego. The beast falls back, confusing his master. Lin casually approaches the enemy and notes that the beast senses danger. The assassin is shocked that Lin is behind him, meeting their demise. The enemies are down while Kyo's maid asks what they will do next. She asks if they can return to their kingdom already. Lin offers to help and notes that she built secret routes since she is fond of traveling. The maid warns Kyo not to trust them and suggests reporting to the Orient Kingdom instead. Lin makes her choose between them and the Orient Kingdom, while Kyo responds that she doesn't trust them. However, Jay saved her life, so she asks him to escort her to the Sakura Kingdom. Her maids are left shocked. With a smirk, Lin says escorting her won't be free. The maids angrily accuse her of wanting payment despite putting the princess in danger. Lin asks if that's what the princess believes, but admits she just wants to return to Sakura Kingdom. She softly whispers her wish to go home. Lin agrees cheerfully and reassures her they'll take her back. She then coldly tells the maids they can leave. Lin clarifies they'll only protect the princess, who still has to pay whatever price she sets. The princess quickly offers to pay for them as well, believing everyone is safer together. The maids are moved by her words. The princess smiles gently, saying she wants to protect the maids who grew up with her. They thank her but insist on leaving to distract the pursuers. The princess panics and begs them not to go, saying it's too dangerous. They reassure her that as servants, they won't be harmed and will create false trails to escape safely. They bid farewell, asking her to stay safe and return to the Sakura Kingdom. She watches with worry, softly wishing them well. Lin teases her for crying again, calling her the weepiest kindred she's ever seen. The princess yells at her to shut up as Lin asks Jay what he thinks. He comments that something feels off and suspects trouble. Lin agrees and smiles slyly as she raises her finger. The maids walk across a barren desert as silence surrounds them. They confirm they've evaded danger and prepare the contact crystal to report to King Toker, who is Kyo's dad. The crystal activates with a red glow, sizzling in their hands. A red projection of Toker appears before them. He immediately scolds them for using a rare, costly crystal for non-emergencies. Nervously, the maids plead with him to listen. They begin transmitting their report through the glowing stream. They inform him that the princess is returning to Sakura Kingdom and ask for further orders. He rejects her escape and declares she must be stopped, ordering them to kill the princess. The maids agree with urgency, confirming they understand the order. They rush off as Toker yells for them to hurry. In the open wasteland, one maid decides to launch a flare to draw attention. She says they'll return to the princess and strike if she's still alive. One of them pulls the flare trigger. A red beam shoots into the sky with a loud click. Lin suddenly appears behind them and notices that they are setting off fireworks. She teases the maids for being romantically dramatic, leaving them shocked. Turning to the princess, she notices her lowered gaze in silence. The princess asks why, her voice heavy with betrayal. She questions how they could do this after growing up together, believing they were friends. The maids declare their loyalty to Toker and the king, asking the princess to take responsibility for Sakura Kingdom. With tears in her eyes, the princess is told to die for their cause. Jay says no one deserves to die and the princess has rights too, urging that anyone could sacrifice themselves for the country. The maids yell back, questioning if they're expected to believe she follow through. Jay snaps and screams that the princess would never risk herself if others wouldn't, unsure that her death would fulfill any promise. He yells that if a country's prosperity depends on sacrificing one woman, then such a country should perish. A pair of crows soar through the sky, scanning the land below. One bird sharpens its gaze, locked on its target. The princess walks with her maid after finding their target. A monstrous bird swoops down with deadly speed, transforming into a winged man. The attack lands a hit across her chest. More bird-like monsters descend swiftly from the sky. The maid shouts while the princess clutches her wound in shock. They dive for cover as a rain of feathers crashes down like spears. The winged beasts land among the chaos, surveying the destruction below. The winged assassins inspect the bodies and declare the mission a success. One questions if the girl is really Kyo, but the other confirms her identity. He remarks how their exhaustion made it easy, crushing his device to report in. They stand over her corpse, certain their job is done. Their leader orders them to post proof of Kyo's death. As they prepare to leave, they discuss how the Orient Kingdom has no way to retaliate. The scene is left behind in silence. A glowing spell fades at the base of a tree, revealing a hidden trio. Inside the illusion, Kyo and her allies confirm that everyone believes she's dead. Lin is confident that they won't get caught as they proceed to the Sakura Kingdom in disguise. It's then revealed the maid wore a high-tech disguise mask, which is Lin's dad's treasured possession. Lin jokes that Kyo needs to pay double. She asks if the princess feels guilty about the maid's sacrifice. Jae scolds her for being insensitive, but Lin invalidates his reaction. Lin leaves them both alone and tells them to rest. Jae tells Kyo not to mind Lin's words. He confesses he only wanted to thank her but struggled to express it. He excuses himself to rest as he feels awkward. Kyo watches the other side while he instantly falls asleep. The princess suddenly turns to Jae, noting that he makes her feel safe. Jae sleeps deeply, while the princess blesses him to show her gratitude. Her scent fills the space while noting that her anxiety seems to ease. Jae wakes up from his deep rest, confused why his bones are ringing. He feels like his muscles seem to be stronger and notes that he is hungry. Lin suddenly serves him breakfast. She also encourages the princess since she must be starving too. Lin happily serves more food. Kyo is surprised at how the master-servant relationship is in their nation. Lin knows what Kyo is thinking and notes that she is nurturing Jae, just like how one would take care of a pet. Lin jokingly asks Kyo if she wants to try petting Jae, grabbing her arm to touch his head. Kyo notes that it is not as bad, annoying Jae as they treat him like a fluffy pet. The news spread immediately that the Sakura nation's princess had been assassinated in the Orient Kingdom, who remained silent about the incident. The Sakura nation has declared war in response. The note that the nation moved quickly, which makes their motive too obvious. Kyo sits quietly as the news about her spreads. She wants to see her dad and asks him in person. Lin teases Kyo as a weak and naive princess. She asks if the princess can inherit 50% of the king's original lineage. Lin insists that the princess is weak, which she starts to believe. Tears well up her eyes and believes that it is the reason why she was given up, hoping that she was stronger instead. Lin encourages her to go to the Sakura Kingdom instead as planned, so that Kyo can confront her dad and stop the impending war, while Jae senses that she knows something. In the Sakura Kingdom, a servant encourages his king to act faster. The king asks them to start the war while looking at the picture of his daughter. The servant asks him if she is looking at the album of the princess. The king notes how much she admired his daughter, looking exactly like her mom. The king crumples the picture and notes his disappointment that they didn't show any special power until the end. The servant validates the king's action for causing his late daughter and wife's tragedy. The king notes that they died like a puppet and hopes to get Kitsune to make Sakura Nation the leader of the 7 kingdoms. The king suddenly thinks that it might just be a tale. He thinks about 2 legendary spirits, noting their impatience to tear up the peace treaty and taste the thrill of war. The king is confident that nothing can stop their plans. Meanwhile, Lin picks up a shell on the ground, telling everyone that it is time to leave. Kyo stops for a moment, showing her hesitation to move forward. Lin asks her what is wrong, while Kyo silently notes that she forgot something in the emergency of the previous attack. The princess realizes that she is not allowed to touch the ground. Her dad's ominous voice plays in her head with a reminder of their tradition. Kyo clenches her teeth in frustration, crushing the ground with her once pure foot. Lin and Jae watch her blow off steam. Kyo tells everyone to call her by her name instead. Lin points forward and tells them to keep moving. The trio walk through the desert, while Kyo wonders if she has given her Sakura spirit to Jae. She suddenly blushes, while Lin immediately notices it. At Jae's dad's barbershop, gothic-looking strangers surround him and warn that they'll call the police. They accuse Jae's dad as a traitor for being connected with his son and Lin. The dad defends his son and notes that he is just a dependent. The Goths confirm his son's identity after he proudly displays his photo at the shop entrance. Jae's dad throws a plate on the wall, telling him to back off. The Goths respond that he started it and proceed to smash his shop. They attempt to punch Jae's dad while he freezes. Wayne suddenly blocks the Goths' punch, gently asking them to stop. The Goths ask him to stay back since it is a kindred matter. Wayne questions their humanity. The Goths try to defend their actions. Wayne removes his glasses as his aura turns sinister. The Goths display their frustration until the fight intensifies inside the shop. Shortly, the Goths are thrown away, realizing that Wayne is not a human. His scarlet eyes display, while the pawns act like loyal dogs in front of Wayne. They immediately leave them alone. It is believed that kindred transformed dependents will be treated as kindred by normal humans. Wayne immediately goes to Jay's dad and asks if he is okay. He wonders if his son is safe. Wayne reassures him that Jay is strong, but he doesn't believe him. Jay's dad wonders where he is now. Meanwhile, a group of people hide in the shadows as they observe Jay's dad. They confirm that someone high-ranking is secretly protecting Jay's dad. They make a move to capture Jay's dad so that they can force him to show up from hiding. Wayne is alarmed while the enemy notices that he just turned recently. The enemy immediately strikes Wayne, while the others attack Jay's dad. Wayne yells at Jay's dad as the enemy points out they've outnumbered him. Will suddenly appears with the others from the gym to provide backup. They immediately attack to defend Wayne, and Jay's dad Will informs Jay's dad that he needs to move already as it is no longer safe. Wayne reassures him that they are not bad guys. He suddenly squats down and rummages through a compartment, taking his belongings as he turns out to be prepared already to move out. He hopes that his son is safe. Meanwhile, Lin asks Jay why he looks so gloomy in the morning. He admits that he is getting emotional at how his life is going right now. He doesn't know anymore what will happen to him. He suddenly pauses, hearing Kyo sing beautifully. She notes that it is a song they sing when someone gets homesick in their nation. Lin teases their closeness. The trio finally arrives at the Sakura Kingdom. Lin tells them to perform a little preparation before going in, surprising Jay. Half an hour later in a lively street, a vendor invites customers to try his paper dolls with customized looks. He asks Jay if he wants to try, but he declines as they dress up to disguise themselves. The vendors find Jay lucky while surrounded by beautiful women, and no paper doll can match it. The trio decide to try some street foods, while the two girls offer Jay a bite. The vendors can't hide their jealousy. Lin explains that women are not allowed to walk outside without a master to follow, adding that they need to play by the nation's rules to avoid getting the attention. The trio continues to talk, while Lin tells them to look around after arriving at the border of the capital. They visit the City Hall, House of Justice, Sakura Avenue, and the Civil Affairs Bureau. The nation is a lot smaller than they think since it is the smallest nation among the 7 kingdoms. They suddenly arrive at an unfamiliar place. Jay looks at Kyo for an answer, while telling him that they are in the royal shrine. Lin explains that it is where the royal family of generations go to worship the royal kindred. When a royal dies, the shrine mourns for 10 days with full protocol. Shikigami wail, relatives keep vigil, and everyone wears black. However, it is as if nothing happened despite the news that the princess died. Lin gets suspicious as nobody mourns Kyo, but the news tells otherwise. Jay tries to comfort her, but Kyo remains silent. Suddenly, a man named Handa mourns for Kyo, but someone tells him to go away. The old man can't believe that no one is there to summon her spirit. Kyo is rendered speechless, while Handa accuses them of using Kyo as a tool just like her late mom. His offerings are thrown away, while the guards threaten him that they will get him next time. He slams the door violently, while Handa picks up his offerings. He expresses his sadness, trying to clean up Kyo and her mom's picture. The princess tries to approach Handa, but Lin stops her. Kyo tells her that Handa was her mom's retainer, but Lin reminds her to be cautious. Lin tells them to follow him quietly. At Handa's home, he calls Kyo's mom, named Matsu, and notes that he has failed her. Kyo observes him quietly, seeing that he set up a shrine for her late mom. Handa feels guilty after watching Kyo from afar, while he takes out the lock of hair that Matsu left. He burns the lock of hair while noting the cursed lineage that Matsu and Kyo shared, which finally ended. Kyo recognizes her mom's hair and the scent. The trio tries to stay quiet, but Kyo can't help but approach him. Handa senses them and is alarmed by the intruders. He is shocked to see Kyo in the flesh, while Jay notes the princess's impulsiveness. Kyo looks hypnotized after smelling the familiar scent, confirming that it is her mom's. Handa is excited to see that the princess is alive. Something suddenly catches his attention, noting that he can't smell anything. Kyo's headaches and notes that she is suddenly remembering something. Lin stops him from putting out the fire and tells Handa that they are Kyo's bodyguards. The old man tells them to get out, but Lin tells him that he can't keep on hiding secrets anymore. Handa turns anxious, looking at Kyo, who calls for her mom. Something wakes up in Kyo's mind, while Handa tries to hide the secrets from coming out. He summons a massive magic circle, sealing his entire home. Lin is surprised to see a servant who can use an advanced hidden air magic and offers her support. She summons her dolls to temporarily blind the princess. Lin notes that it is the only way to be safe. Kyo's magical sense suddenly unleashes, while Handa uses his power to block the impact. Jay coughs violently until a massive explosion erupts inside Handa's house. The outbursts were seen around the house, but were kept using the seal. Kyo approaches her mom's shrine, noting that the scent is very familiar. She tries to recall where she smelled the scent, recalling her time as a child. Kyo suddenly remembers with visions of her mom crying. She recalls the time her mom was taken away. Her mom's family were wiped out, traumatizing the little princess. His dad failed after attempting to include Kyo. In the face of such devastation, her mom finally broke down, trying to kill her dad. However, her mom couldn't, so she protected Kyo instead by ending her own life. The tragic scene traumatized Kyo, while his dad took a sample from her dead mom. Toker put his finger on Kyo's forehead, unleashing a bright light. Toker and his daughter watched the tragedy as it burned. Kyo finally remembers that the familiar scent was the smell of her burning kin. She forgot everything and lived a carefree life. She was imprisoned by false memories as the future of their lineage. There is only one woman who can awaken their lineage. Kyo screams desperately as the power unleashes from her body. Handa can't believe his eyes, while Jay is rendered speechless. Kyo is enveloped by light. Her eyes transform similar to a beast's. A howling noise echoes as Kyo transforms into the legendary tailed fox, shocking everyone inside. Handa is shocked to see their lineage awakens, which only happens rarely, which only activates after a traumatic event, so the king massacred her relatives in front of her. Kyo's sharp claws and teeth display. Handa thinks it is bad since King Toker will want Kyo's lineage again. Her power surges until she suddenly strikes Jay. Kyo slams Lin with her tail. Handa explains that she might never gain her sanity back and can only fight till her death. Lin reminds Jay that Kyo hasn't fully awakened yet as she only has 2 tails. Jay's eyes widen, looking at Kyo while she gets wild. Lin plans to suppress her. She tells Handa to cooperate while the old man asks who she is and how she knows the secrets. Lin ties Kyo with her hair, while Jay approaches the princess. He grabs her by force while Handa uses his technique to bind Kyo. Handa summons a magic circle, surrounding Kyo as it expands. The princess is finally inside the cage while Jay holds on to her. She lets out a guttural scream until she bites Jay's shoulder. He endures the pain until Kyo suddenly returns to her senses. She falls on his arms, thinking that it is finally over. Lin tells him that it is far from over, and it is only getting started. She holds up a doll with a sharp gaze, explaining that she used it to block the outside world and conceal the broken prohibition. Handa reveals he didn't expect Kyo's special powers to awaken, saying the energy is too strong to hide. With a calm but cold tone, Lin declares that she has no choice but to sacrifice Handa. Outside, a group of men watches a glowing barrier encasing a house. King Toker confirms that they have found Handa's home. He explains that Handa was spared only because he was sick and suspected to hold secrets tied to the lineage. With suspicion, the king mutters that Handa must be hiding something. Suddenly, Handa breaks through the roof, glowing with intense energy. The enemy confronts him, accusing him of pretending to be senile to avoid suspicion, but Handa replies that they still can't spy on him. Toker questions why he is retaliating and suspects that it is because of the princess's death. Handa shouts that the princess deserves a royal burial, declaring he has nothing left to lose. He threatens to expose the king's sins, revealing that he married Matsu just to take her sample. The king calls it the desperate fury of a dying man and mocks him as pathetic, telling Handa to shut up. Handa casts a red locking spell with a forceful motion. The king counters as he slices through the magic with a crashing strike. In a brutal blow, the sword pierces Handa. The king orders his men to bring him back. A subordinate asks if they'll spare him, but Toker replies that he is rare and he can die later. He says Handa might still hold information and orders him taken to the Inquisition. Handa is dragged away in chains as the king smirks. He calls out the madness over a worthless princess. Amid the ruins, a glowing shell hovers in silence. Hidden in a red void, Lin confirms the enemies have left. She points out the arrogance of the Sakura royal family, promising that they will pay for what they have done. The next day, Kyo calls for her mom, waking up from a nightmare. She sits up in bed, confused by the unfamiliar room. She knocks over the bedding as she scrambles to her feet. Rushing to open the door, she realizes that she is in the palace, noticing her mom's yard. Suddenly, fragmented memories flash of the tragic event, seeing her mom's gentle face until her death. She clutches her head in pain, screaming from the overwhelming flashbacks. Lin appears and calmly asks if she can feel the pain. Kyo looks shocked, yelling at them to leave. Lin approaches her and finds her adorable, rendering Kyo speechless. A glowing vortex reveals their surroundings as Lin asks her to look closely. She learns the Mirage Shell creates environments shaped by the user's thoughts, and this space mirrors her dream home. Taking it in, the princess asks where Handa is. Shocked, she hears that Toker took him to protect her. Lin mocks the idea of her trying to save him. Kyo admits she's weak, but still has to act. Tears fall as she says she couldn't stand by and do nothing. Breaking down, she screams that she has no worth and questions why she's so weak. She repeats the cry, overwhelmed by frustration and pain.